Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the show today. Very happy to have you here. Now, I know for me, I'm sitting here with a nice, fresh, hot cup of coffee. Well, I don't know how fresh it is, but it's hot, and it's an absolutely gorgeous day, and it's the right temperature. It's around 40. Yeah, that's a good direction for
Yep.
me. I like the cooler weather. And my dog was very displeased with outside critters this morning, but he's taking a break. you know, he's an old man, so he's only got about 35, 40 minutes of energy in him a day, and I guess he's probably out for the rest of the day. So it's probably good. But we have another problem with our dog here. He's having a halitosis problem.
Uh-oh.
Oh my.
He's
Trying
got
to
the
solve
stank
that.
breath.
Damn, dude. You can smell him a
Yeah.
room away. And I
Yeah.
know he's getting old and stuff like that, but yeah, we're trying to deal with that because woof. Yeah. But my wife has been on that, but it's like, damn dog. But he's a good boy. He's a good boy, and you know, I'm glad to see, he's still got a little energy when my wife washes because he's a hair dog, so you can wash him quite, easily. And
Mhm.
when he comes out, he'll do laps around the couch, about 50 of them,
Mm.
you know. And then sometimes he'll detour into the hallway and do a loop there too, and then come back, do more around the couch. I don't know what that is, but it's his thing, and he
What he
still
likes to do.
yeah, that's what he likes to do, because he's wet and he doesn't know what to do. It's a panic mode, I think. But he still can do those laps. Like he hops like a bunny rabbit. I don't know if you knew that, but he does.
He's a
Yeah,
good puppers. He
he
don't
is.
cause no trouble.
No, no. He's actually, one thing I always thought it was interesting about these schnauzers, they are lightning fast, dude. It's a
Yeah.
very
Quick little
fast
shits.
dog. Yeah, they're very
Yeah.
quick. I mean, I've seen dogs my whole life, and I've never seen a dog that fast, other than say a greyhound or a whippet or something like that. Those things are super fast too. But I don't know what it is. I think it's just their build. They're just like a freaking bullet, dude. But you have a dog, right?
Yeah. I do. She is not a purebred. She's a mutt. She is a lab, a chow, and a pit bull mix.
Oh, okay,
So she is extraordinarily protective, right? Because all three of those are incredibly protective breeds.
sure.
It's why people think they're aggressive. No, they're just protective. Don't mess with their family, and you'll be fine.
Yeah,
But yeah, so she's incredibly protective. Not so much of me because I'm dad, but of my wife. So I can go outside with her, no leash, and she'll typically just stay right next to me, no problem. But if my wife's out there, she's on alert, hardcore. So anything comes near, she's immediately ready to go. Uh, so we can't unfortunately let her out there like that without with my wife out there.
right.
But when it's just me and her, she's totally chill. I when she was a real little before, see, I got this dog before I was married to my wife. We were just dating at the time, and I was training her when I lived in an apartment to walk without a leash, and
Mhm.
we had it pretty good. She was just because my other dog before her, I had him trained. Didn't need a leash. I would keep it with me just in case somebody decided to be a butthead, but I didn't need it at all because he would stay right next to me, locked to my hip, and all I'd do is snap my fingers, and he would immediately return and sit.
Right.
Uh, and I had her just about there, and then my wife moved in with me, and that was the end of that.
Oh, wow.
The end of that training. Yeah. But yeah, no, I do have a dog. Her name's Dahlia. She's a good puppy for the most part. She doesn't like mailmen like most dogs. She's not a
Mhm.
fan.
Mhm.
Wishes they would all die
Yeah.
a very painful death.
Yeah. They keep coming back to
But
the house.
otherwise,
They're
good
good. They're
dog.
trying to get them.
Yeah,
Is the problem.
bastards,
Yeah.
bastards.
My dog's called Orin, by the way.
Or it.
Yes, which is an old Gaelic word which means gray and white.
Hmm.
Perfect.
It's one of the names if I remember correctly, it's one of the names my wife really loves 'cause she likes Gaelic. She's Irish, well, of
Yeah.
Irish descent, so she likes Gaelic names.
Yeah, well, that's why I mentioned it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mine is named Dahlia because she is literally black as coal. So I named her basically Black Dahlia.
right.
And then her middle name, because I had to give her a middle name because my wife insisted, is Nix.
Oh, okay. That's fair,
the
as
depths
it
of
should
night.
be. Yeah, it
Yeah,
should be. Yeah,
yeah.
plenty of blackness going on there. But you know what I did? To name because I wanted the kids. I bought the dog for the kids. Right, they were at the right
Hmm.
age, and he did a great job with the kids, and they did a great job with him. So I wanted the kids to be attached to him. So I had the kids name him, and I just brought up a list of Gaelic names, and I just started going through them. And they just kind of, when they heard that one, they were like, "That's it," because they were little, right? They were like 10, 11, 12, around that age. And
Right,
it's ironic that they chose that one because he's a Schnauzer, so gray and white, right? Black.
right.
Those kind of shades of gray is what orange means. So I thought that was interesting, but it stuck. And he even perked up and looked at me when I said it, which was probably why the kids liked it, because every other name he wasn't paying attention. you know, yeah, dogs are good. I remember the first day I brought him in. There's back to the house, and I had him sitting on my lap, and the kids cautiously coming up and interacting with him. You know what I mean. But
Oh yeah.
there's a commercial here in Japan that's been going on for I don't know decades. The Japanese are kind of like that. They'll have lots of fresh, new, stupid commercials, as most commercials are, but they'll have some old ones that just forever continue, right? And there's
Hmm.
one, I can't remember what they sell from it. I've seen it 1,000 times too. But it's basically a bunch of animals, moving around. And it's got this very, you know, soft, almost hallelujah esque music with it. And
Mm.
that every time that commercial comes on, he whines and makes noise because you got a bunch of animals moving, and he got this very soaring, emotional music with it. And that was the very first thing he ever seen on a screen was that commercial.
Hmm.
As I came down and sat down on the couch with him. But yeah, no, dogs are great. I don't know that we'll get another one though. Whenever he passes, I don't know we will. Because yeah, we move too much. We travel around too
Chester.
much. Yeah.
Now we both know you're gonna pretend like it's not, but we both know your wife's gonna make that decision.
Well, probably true. Maybe true. But I think she kind of agrees with it. Although that might be one of the rare moments I put my foot down. Actually,
Uh oh. Uh oh.
yeah,
He's gonna get out the Bigfoot.
yeah. Well, you know what I mean. You choose your battles, and for the most part,
Oh yeah.
whatever she wants is fine. And what do I give a shit, right? For the
Yep.
most part. And that's great and I think most men do that because when we do find something we're like no, the ladies tend to be like, "Well, okay then," because
Hmm.
we don't say that much. So when we do say
Right.
something, they usually kind of just take it. But yeah, because as it is, when we go off somewhere or do something, because I'm moving around a lot, right? We got to put him
Hmm.
in a kennel, right? And we found a really good one that has a lot of dogs he's friends with. It's this little younger guy who's opened his own dog grooming business. He's very good at it. So it's a nice place. It's not bad. I don't care about the cost. But it's just kind of a pain in the ass for us and him too, I would assume. Uh, you know, Especially because he's a bit of a stressed dog. He's not that happy-go-lucky. What you said yours is protected, but its natural nature, is it a happy-go-lucky dog or is it a stressed dog or?
A little bit of both, to be honest. She's pretty. Most of the time, she's pretty mellow and just likes to play and run around and run. We always say she runs teeth first because when she's in play mode, she smiles really wide,
Mm,
and all you just see is this black blob of teeth coming at you. Uh, the and it looks really funny. We call it the black demon because of that.
oh,
Uh,
I see. Yeah.
but otherwise, she can be really anxious. It just depends. It really just depends on one our energy, what's going on with us,
Oh, sure.
and if there's any noise outside the house that she has not commissioned or approved. Well, we can't be having that. So otherwise, she's fine. But where I live, even though I live technically in the city, it's really quiet right here because there's just a bunch of old people on my street. So I don't usually have too much noise. Occasionally, a motorcycle will come by or something, but it's pretty quiet right here.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. The dogs are kind of interesting. I see Dave's comment. I'm going to comment mention on here in a minute, but yeah, it's really funny with them though, because when you mention that, because my wife is the one who cares for the dog most of the time. She walks him most of the time. I'd say good 70% of the time. She feeds him.
Mhm.
I feed him some too, but mainly it's her. Mostly it's her, her dog, and
Right.
she cares for the dog. But if he's being rowdy or something like that, sometimes it's he doesn't listen to her, right? But
Hmm.
all I have to do is just snap my fingers, and that dog is down and quiet. It's weird
Yep.
because I'm not the main caregiver, right?
No,
But for,
your dad.
I suppose, but
Dogs know. That's how dogs see people as their family. They're masters, as we call it, but to them, you're just family.
yeah, that's
Uh,
true.
and dogs are very, very big on their hierarchies. It's literally how they live, how they exist, and wolves too, especially. So once it's been established who is which position, it stays that way.
Yeah,
And
that's probably
it
true.
can change occasionally. They'll try, and some dogs might try and push you, especially males. Especially if you don't get them neutered. But it's very rare. Like especially if you had a dog since it was very young. Once it knows your dad, your dad.
Yeah.
You're the alpha. You're in
Well,
charge,
it might have
and that's
helped
it.
because within the first few days of him being here, he actually snapped, and he does that occasionally. He'll snap, but he doesn't really bite. But he'll do
Right.
that occasionally. But the first few days he was with us, years and years ago, he snapped at me to bite at me, and I bit him. I bit him back.
It's effective.
It is. I put
Uh,
both hands on him, put him on the ground. He couldn't move. Yeah, I did that with my
yeah.
with my son as well when he was a baby. It's very effective. But yeah. So yeah, just bite him back. But Yeah, no, it is
Yeah.
interesting. Dogs are interesting. Anyway, Dave had a couple comments here, which is kind of interesting. He said, "My mom's Irish. She likes potatoes. My mother is Irish as well." And it's interesting because everyone associates potatoes with the Irish. But the simple fact of the matter is that it's a very new food, coming out of the
Yeah.
Americas. It's not really,
Nope.
yeah. And those sweet
Don't
potato,
tell the
yeah.
secrets.
Oh, that's fair. But those sweet potato yams are actually more toward the normal potato, the
That's right.
the the russet, that kind of what the whole world eats potato is kind of a European derivation, right? And
So you're telling me
it's probably the
Europeans
Dutch.
did it better again?
Yeah, well, yeah. Especially back in
Yeah.
that time, the Dutch, because
Shame.
when all that stuff was coming over, a lot of people were trying to do things with new products coming out of the products coming out of the New World. But the Dutch built like an industry on it, and as
Yep.
after that initial, shock of new stuff, the Dutch were well placed to continue doing it. Of course, people have a business, they want to keep making money, right? It's standard.
Hmm.
And the Dutch went on for a while, so a lot of your American or food products are actually Dutchified.
Hmm.
Yeah, like chocolate
I'm
and
Dutch.
potatoes, coffee, lots of stuff. The Dutch were, strawberries. And now that's an interesting. You ever read the history of the strawberry?
I have not.
Dude, that is
I
fascinating
didn't know
because
there was a deep history to the
there
strawberry.
is. Well, when they brought this out of the hills of Bolivia, is where
Hmm.
they brought the strawberry out of. I imagine it might be in other places, but because even here in Japan, they have what they call a mountain strawberry or a snake strawberry. They don't taste anywhere near the same, but they weren't very edible. And the Dutch kept working on them, and it wasn't really a product that the natives used much, right? But they kept
Hmm.
working on it, and it went through various phases. And as they worked on it, it became more and more poisonous.
Oh.
Yeah, to the point that it was deadly poisonous, and they were basically about to just ditch this thing. But a group kept working on it, and the modern strawberry you have came out, what, 150 years ago, maybe 130,
Hmm.
not long ago. And it's interesting that they found something that wasn't very edible. They kept working on breeding it, and they created a very poisonous, deadly thing, and they kept working on it. It's
Right.
very interesting. Why you would think they would just kind of, put in the towel on that one, but they didn't. And of course, today strawberry is one of the more popular
Well,
berries
it's
in the
also
world.
one of the things that you can just kind of grow all over,
That's
right?
true. That is
It's
true.
that's probably why they did it, is because they knew it could be cultivated in just about any climate,
Yeah,
like the
mountain
like the
foods are
potato.
like that. Mountain foods are like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the potato. The potato
Yep.
grow just about anywhere, just about any conditions. It'll grow. Give it the right stuff. It'll do it. It'll do the job. And it's the potato gets maligned nowadays because we got all these people who think carbs are bad for them, even though 50 to 70% of everybody's diet, even the healthiest people in the world, are carbs. But I digress. Uh, but the potato is actually a superfood.
It is
It
good
is
food.
so
Yeah.
packed with caloric density in such a small thing, and so satisfying and satiating. It's a superfood. It's impressive
It
what
is.
you can get out of just a big, like a nice big Idaho potato. That damn thing's almost a meal in itself.
Oh yeah,
Just one
you can
potato.
do a lot of cool stuff with them too. But not yeah, no, potatoes are great foods. As far as just whole foods and raw
Yeah.
calorie, the rice is the king of that. Just as far as the
Yep.
amount of calories you can get out of a equal amount. But the actual real superfood, as far as the standard, the staple type of food, is
Mhm.
oddly bread, not wheat,
Yeah.
bread.
That's
Something
another one.
magical
Horribly
happens.
maligned.
Yeah.
Horribly maligned
Oh, bread's
nowadays by these
amazing.
people who are, oh, you can't eat gluten, and you can't eat too many carbs. You're right. You can't eat fried fat carbs when you fry a bunch of nonsense and other nonsense. Yeah, you shouldn't eat that. But bread's fine. People have been eating bread for 10,000 damn years. What are we talking about here? We know bread's fine. This
Yeah.
idea that bread's bad for you. Okay, then why do we exist? If it's poison, how has every
No, it's the
civilization that's ever mattered ate some kind of bread?
yeah, that gluten crap is just limp wristedness is what it is.
Yes.
Grow the hell up. Dave's interesting. He's got some comments here. He says, we have the Cadbury egg commercials every Easter in the US. That's true. They do go way back. That's true. You see some commercials that just have staying power. It's true. But I don't know. When I was young, the commercials were jingles, right? I was at the tail end of the jingle, right? And then we came into, especially coming into the Pepsi generation stuff, right? When I was a young adult,
Mm,
which it was much more slick, cool type of thing. And of
right.
course, there were dumb things here or there, but it's become completely stupid now. I mean,
Yep.
and it's not just America. In Japan, the commercials are just dumb, and they're intended to be dumb. That's
Yep.
the joke, I guess. But I mean, I don't know. Do you prefer modern, just brain dead commercials over the kind of stuff they had in the past?
I hate all ads, and I go to great lengths to avoid ever having to look at them. I
Mm,
cannot stand. There's something, and I know what it is, but I didn't until I was a little bit older. Uh, I've always hated them. I think everybody kind of dislikes them, unless it's an entertaining one, then whatever. But for the most part, we all dislike them, right? They're the piss break. They're the when you stop watching for a bit, you go do something else or whatever, get your cup of coffee or a soda or something. Uh, because nobody wants to watch that nonsense. But I think it's because inherently, and I knew something that I've relearned recently, is that all mass marketing especially, is effectively bullying. It's manipulation.
yeah, of course
And
it is.
I
Yeah,
don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like when people try to manipulate me, and it just like instinctually upsets me when I have to watch one. So I go to great lengths to avoid them. But to your actual question, the ones I've seen of the modern ones, they are just trash. They're
they're
just
just
it's not
really
even
dumb,
like,
brain dead. Yeah,
yeah, it's not even like the old ones where I know they're trying to get me to feel something or they're trying to manipulate me.
sure.
It's like worse than reality TV. It's just garbage. It's like the potato chips of content.
Yeah,
They're just garbage. Like, eh, I don't know how else to describe it. And anybody who watches modern commercials, I think, probably agrees. because there's YouTube channels you can find where they just play old commercials,
Oh
and they're
yeah,
just far more engaging.
they are better, and you're right. It is all manipulation. Of course, it is. Go watch Mad Men. But
Yeah,
of course it is. One thing I thought was interesting in Sandra Bullock's future, they're all jingles. No,
they're all jingles.
Demolition Man.
Oh yeah.
It's a joke.
Oh boy, we are so close to that future. Holy
Yeah,
crap.
yeah.
That was
Well,
not meant to be a prophecy, guys. That was not
no.
what they were doing.
I mean, that was a fun little movie, but talk about the worst pairing ever. Sandra
Oh yeah,
Bullock
they had
and
no
Sylvester
chemistry.
Stallone, zero chemistry. It,
No
it it
chemistry.
it actually made me feel icky, the fact of him having sex with her. I was like, no,
Yeah,
Sly, no, bad Sly. Slap him on
yeah.
the hand. Um, that
But
was wrong. It was wrong. It was wrong. Yeah.
Wesley and Sylvester had amazing chemistry.
Oh yeah, that
So it
was
was a
good.
weird
Yeah.
dichotomy. The romantic interests were a mess, but over here was spectacular. So
Now
weird dichotomy. I love Demolition Man. I think it's a massively underrated movie.
it's
It's
great fun. It's great
one
fun.
of especially his '90s ones. It's probably his best one
Yeah.
in the
No,
'90s.
it is a good fun movie. That's for damn sure. But just that's not the type of girl that he gets. That's not the right
No,
type of girl. Even when he's in his pure drama state with Adrian, um, that was more of the drama of it. And it worked
right.
just fine for that with that actress. She did a good job, but it's just not. You expect he's got some lady in a tight dress with too many jewelry and too much makeup that is very ready to bitch at any moment. That's his
Yeah.
chick. But that was funny. Anyway, let's continue on here. Alan says that I associate the Irish with green clovers, pink hearts, orange stars, yellow moons, and purple horseshoes, and lots of whiskey.
Well, that's
As
not
you
a
should.
lot nicer than I do. I associate them with domestic violence.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yeah.
and just unnecessary amounts of men who think they can fight, who then get their ass kicked, but then insist that they can still fight you later. And you
Well,
just, what do you do with that level of stubbornness?
that's the problem. I mean, don't get into scuffles with Irish because they will not
Yep.
stop.
They just don't stop.
They don't. Yeah. So
They
that's the
don't.
danger of them. Uh, you know, and it's just it's persistence. You know,
Yep.
fair enough. I'm half Irish, so I guess I would know. Although I don't really like alcohol much. It's weird. Dave says, "You remember the episode of Gilligan's Island where they grew giant radioactive vegetables and got superpowers eating them?" I do. Yes, yes. U.S. wheat is modified, probably. Monsanto is turning the frogs gay. Yeah, they are. That's true. Yeah. Roger thinks the best ads are in the 80s and 90s. That's it. I think they were, they are trying to, pull on your heartstrings and manipulate you, but they certainly seemed a little bit more hard work went into them. Although I don't mind
Competent.
the jingle age. I don't mind that actually. I wish I were an
If,
Oscar Mayer wiener. Yeah.
Chester, if I had my way,
Mhm.
if I had absolute authority to control everything when it comes to these sorts of things, I could ban anything I wanted. I would ban about 95% of marketing because it's messed up. It's designed to make really weak-minded, weak-willed people spend money they don't have on things they don't need, and
That's
it
true.
ruins people.
Yeah.
And here's how marketing would be. Here's what your marketing is ought to be. This is my product. This is what it does. Here's how much it is. There you go. There's your marketing. That's it. No more of this nonsense. No more
Yeah.
of this
Well.
obvious emotional manipulation disguised as some kind of legitimate business practice. No, it's
Yeah.
messed up.
Well,
And the fact that
just do
as a
better.
civilization, we keep allowing these literal sorcerers to manipulate the weakest of us into doing really stupid things that hurt everybody.
Mhm.
That's why we are where we are.
They
I
do
absolutely
cast
cannot
spells.
stand marketing. They literally do. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Casting spells.
Yeah. The good.
I listen to the good Lord when he in his book when he says manipulation is as witchcraft. He says it. It's in there. I'm just saying. I'm
Fair.
just saying.
It is fair. Well, I'm in a good position because I don't watch Japanese TV.
That's smart.
And, I because it's dumb. I just don't care. I
It's
mean,
garbage. Yeah.
well, it's culture though, and I'm just not Japanese. But recently, I don't know if you noticed this because I do watch YouTube. And as you said, I watch banal things. But
That's right.
recently they've been pouring on the ads. Have you seen that? A lot more
I have not.
advertisement.
'Cause I block them. If I use YouTube, it's all the ads are blocked. I don't see any ads on my
Well,
YouTube.
on the old TV, I used to because I just connect. I have a computer here next to the TV, and I just wire the computer into the TV. So with the old
Sure.
TV, everything was done in that HDMI mode, and I was running it off the computer, and I have an ad blocker. So yeah, it
Right.
worked just fine. But with the new TV, YouTube and all that stuff is built in. Now I can still,
Yep.
do the HDMI link, but I am lazy. So,
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
Yeah. If this the only time I typically ever get introduced to ads is if I'm at somebody else's house or I'm somewhere where a TV's on, or I'm watching YouTube on my phone. Somewhere like in the restroom or whatever. That's typically it because, like I said, I really do. I go to great lengths to avoid ads. If I go to a website and they have some kind of ad block, I just leave.
Yeah,
Whatever I
I
was
do
about
that
to
too.
find there, I don't need. I'm good. I
Dave
just
is
can't
talking
stand it.
about sumo. I'm glad somebody likes it. But
I can't
yeah,
believe you don't like it.
eh,
You're
eh.
su- Chester. You're such a weeb. You moved to Japan and married a Japanese
But
woman.
I'm not a weeb though. That's the thing. I didn't marry a Japanese person. I married a girl. Yeah, that's
I
the
mean, she is a
difference.
Japanese
Yeah,
person,
I
though.
know, and there's plenty of weebs here, dude. There are plenty of them I see from overseas that they are all about the Japan. It's just not who I am. I just, I got entrapped by her.
Oh,
Yeah.
uh-oh.
And
She's definitely not in the room.
no, and it's 100% her fault. So me being in Japan is solely for my family. And it was
Yeah.
the right decision. I gave them 7 years in the States to kind of feel the well, it's Hawaii, it's not really America, but to kind of feel the American thing a little bit, to
Uh-huh.
cement their English, which was important. And then I brought them over here, and it was the right decision. It really was. Because as a parent, I haven't had to deal with a lot of those extra things that American parents have to deal with.
Yep.
Things like over amorous activities, drugs, violence. I haven't had to deal with those things, which has made my life easier, right? And
Yep.
especially because their formative years were here. So, it was the right decision without question. But am as far from a weeb as you get. Yeah, it's unfortunate, right? I mean, I can't even stand the food. Damn it,
Yeah, well, I mean, let's be honest, Japanese food is kind of shit.
it is
And
shit. Yeah,
everybody pretends it's good for some reason, but it isn't. I'm
yeah, it
sorry.
sucks.
I've eaten food from all over the world. The only place I haven't eaten food from is Africa, and I don't want to. So there's that.
North African stuff's
But
not bad. Yeah,
yeah, that's probably good. But I've eaten food in the Middle East. I've eaten
well,
food
that's
in
Middle
Europe.
Eastern
I've
food.
eaten food
Yeah,
in Central and South America. I've eaten it everywhere, and Asian food as well. I've never been to Asia, so maybe it's better there, but I don't know. But I can tell you with extreme confidence that American peasant food, meaning working class food, is by far the most flavorful food in the world. It
it
is
is.
so good. There is nothing at the price point that's better than a cheeseburger. Nothing.
Yeah. It
Nothing.
it may be even a little bit too flavorful sometimes. But
That's true.
that's true because one of the things of living and one of the benefits I've gotten from living in Japan, and if Ben were on, he would agree with this, is the fact that their palate is so subtle. I mean, crazy subtle. That of course, I do a lot of my own cooking, but I have access to Japanese products. So my palate has softened. It'll never be as soft as Japanese. It's impossible, right? But it has softened quite a bit, and I have learned to appreciate subtlety a little bit. You know, I
Yeah,
think a lot of American things are a little bit too flavorful, especially sweet things.
like barbecue and barbecue. They
Oh, well,
go
that's
crazy.
different though. That's a savory, or as Japanese like to say, umami. And it's weird
Uh-huh.
that the Western people keep wanting to say umami is in addition to it. We already have a word, dumbasses. It's called savory. Fuck off. And it
Right,
pisses me off.
right.
It's one of my triggers.
But
Umami.
and that's just the burgers I'm talking about. Like
Yeah,
there's other
burgers too.
American peasant food, quote unquote, as I call it. It's just the best. It's
Mhm.
I don't know how else to describe. Especially if you go to at just about anywhere in Europe, the food is garbage. You can go to a couple places, Italy, Spain, and some of their food is okay, and the Germans can get you some good sausages.
Mhm.
But pretty much everything else, Americans do better. I'm
Yeah.
just telling you. I've been there. I've eaten it. Americans do it better.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think American food's fine, and they take Western stuff and Americanize it. I think probably the most
Yep.
successful of that is the Mexican food. The Tex-Mex is an absolute triumph, I think.
It
But
is.
here's the interesting thing. I come from Rhode Island, as you guys know, and we don't have
Mm.
many claims to fame. I mean, really, our claim, one of our biggest claims to fame is we were the last to sign the Constitution, excuse me, the
Yep.
Declaration of Independence, because we're stubborn. That's our big claim to fame. We also have the Swamp Fox, though, who I'm technically related to, by the way,
Nice.
technically by marriage. Yeah.
What was it? What was his name?
Oh, damn it! Every Marion something.
Yeah,
Uh,
I can't remember off
yeah,
the
go
top of my
watch
head.
The
I'd have to look it
Patriot.
up.
That's him. But
Pretty much,
he's
yeah.
he's a remembered a person. Tim Hortons. We're not Canadian, Dave. Okay. But we do have two other things that are claimed to fame, like you mentioned the hamburger, right? Cheeseburger. A
That's
lot
right.
of people don't know this, but say thank you to Connecticut, because they're the dudes that gave you
Yep.
that, right? And there you go. Eric is mentioning it right there. Clam chowder. This is one of our claims to fame. We have two in the food world. Three if you want to talk about the soggies, but I think that's a secret we've kept to ourselves. But and you guys can't have any. None for you. All right. Anyway, but clam chowder is actually a Rhode Island creation. And another one. Here's an odd one for you. Coffee ice cream. Isn't that weird?
Well, that is not a claim to fame, sir. That is a claim to infamy.
Oh, no, no. Well, coffee ice cream is badass. I love me some
Ugh.
coffee ice cream. So, really good
Oh,
stuff.
I
Yeah.
just don't like the flavor of coffee. I don't know why people. Again, it's one of those things. You have to
Coffee milk
convince
as well.
yourself it
That's
tastes
true.
good.
No, no, it's not. Coffee ice cream and Eric's mentioned coffee without milk. Yeah, it's weird that Rhode Island would be an innovator of that. The clam chowder makes sense. I mean, we're all fishermen, really.
Yep.
But yeah, the coffee things. And of course, Eric, don't talk about the soggies. We're gonna keep that to ourselves. Okay. Um, now, if you guys ever do
Francis Marion was his name, by
Francis
the way.
Marion, yeah,
Just
Marion, yeah.
Francis.
But Eric here might be related to a couple of those peoples as well. His family's been around for quite a while. But I My family is actual, well, through my grandmother's an actual Mayflower, right? She's an Allen. So
Mm.
they've been around a long time. I'm not sure when the Connollys and Balls came, but it was probably relatively shortly after. I know my dad's family, the Busbys, came over after the King James betrayal in 1657. So sometime in
Uh-oh.
the 1660s or so, I'd say they came in. The old man loved coffee ice cream. Yeah, dude, coffee. I love me some coffee ice cream, but it's weird because Rhode Island is such a small place. I guess yachting. We dominated the America's Cup
Yes.
forever. That's why they call it the America's Cup, because of the damn Rhode Islanders. But we don't have many claims to fame, though. We really don't. Now you're an Ohioan, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So
Yep.
what's your
Ohio.
claim to fame? Wheat,
For the state itself is apples.
apples.
Apples are our thing. Yeah, big apple thing. We also have obviously the Buckeye, um, being the Buckeye state, but apples for the whole state. For where I'm from, Jeeps. come out of Toledo, and
Oh,
glass, called
well,
the Glass
Klinger
City.
comes out of Toledo as well.
That's correct. He
Yeah.
does, and he is well known, Mr. Jamie Farr. Um, but yeah, that is kind of Ohio. The other thing they have, I'd have to double check, but last I knew, we have the most presidents too.
Huh.
Like a lot of presidents have come out of Ohio.
Yeah. I'd imagine every
Yeah.
state's got a few claims to fame. Some have more, New York, California, I'm sure have more than most. But you could take a little pride in what your state has, to be sure. The I don't know much about the president one. I don't know if that's a pride point or not.
Well, we also have
That's
psychopaths
true,
too,
Eric.
so
Oh, there you go. I
I'm
thought
pretty sure
that was
most serial killers.
Wisconsin was the king of that.
No, I think it's Ohio. If it's
Oh,
not, it's
is it?
one of us. You know,
Yeah.
it's a tight competition. You see.
I'm glad I got Eric in here to help me out. He's flushing my memory. He says actually you got the Rhode Island red breed as well of chicken, and of
Yep.
course Foghorn Leghorn was a Rhode Island red, which is he's the most important chicken in history.
I say it all the time, Chester. There's only two things that come out of Ohio when it comes to people: geniuses and psychopaths.
Mm-hmm.
And history gets to decide which one you are, not you. And yeah, there's a ton of serial killers who've come out of Ohio,
That's
a ton of presidents, a lot of astronauts. The Wright brothers were born here.
oh
Just
neat.
you don't you only if you're going to be famous and from Ohio, you get to be one of two things: a genius or a psychopath,
Fair enough.
and you don't get to make the decision
Yeah.
which.
No, you
That's
don't.
the rule.
You don't. It's taken out of your hands. Dave
That's right.
says, I guess he's a Philadelphian. He says, when you say Philadelphia, everybody thinks cheesesteak, but our official sandwich is the Italian hoagie. Well, you know what? Now Eric is going to back me up on this because we're right. I've been
Uh-oh.
down to Philly, and the cheesesteak is pretty good. I'll give you that. But I've had a hoagie down there, and the simple fact is the Rhode Island grinder kicks its ass, Dave.
Hmm.
Yeah. Sorry to come
Uh-oh.
on so hard like that. But
Uh-oh.
you go up in Rhode Island, you try one of them grinders, was what we call a hoagie, Italian, Italian grinders. Those things are freaking badass. But then again, Rhode Island has an advantage in this. I wouldn't call this a claim to fame though. This is another thing about Rhode Island that most people don't know. At some point in history, the mafia in America decided that Rhode Island would be the place where they retire their old people.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. So
It's a
we
nice,
we
nice, quiet place.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so we got a lot of Italians running around, and they can cook them some meals. They can do that pretty
Oh yeah.
well. Yeah, they're good at
Yeah.
that.
The
Um,
Italians can cook.
yeah,
They
and
can
the
cook.
good thing is
I,
that because of the industry that they pump into Rhode Island, it's actually quite a positive relationship, I would say.
can you
Or at least
explain
used
to
to be.
me, because France is the worst at everything,
Hmm.
just all things. French make worse.
Well,
Can
I
you
mean,
explain to
probably
me
not. Yeah.
how they became? Listen, I am 100% bigoted against France. I'm okay with it. Can you explain to me how they became known in Europe as the food country, right? The
Oh,
French, when the
yes,
Italians are right there and they're infinitely better at everything?
I can. Okay.
Please.
Basically, what happened was during the Roman era,
Hmm.
France, especially southern France, on the beautiful, what they call it, the Riviera, I guess. But down there in the beautiful part of southern France, a lot of Roman nobility had their estates. Right. It
Mm.
wasn't just in Rome. They would have housing there too. But outside of the main cities, it was mainly for industry. Right. But a lot of the nobility for a very long time. And then when Constantine made his play, and he came in and he, switched everything over to Christianity for his purposes, fine. There's nothing wrong with what he did with that. But the backlash to it was rough. The Christians, who had probably been under the thumb for quite a while, for several centuries, they came back with a vengeance, and a lot of bad shit happened. They just were
Hmm.
violent. Those
Yep.
those freed Christians, and you saw a lot of the nobility kind of fleeing even deeper into France, as well as a lot of the Yuda, right? this migration. Now we have other migrations, Phoenician migration, because we call them Jews today, but they're Phoenicians.
Oh,
Uh, but anyway, this one was a pretty big one. So you saw a lot of the Jews kind of escaping the Christian violence during the Constantine
right.
period and after into France. And this is why when the Germans finally came in and just took over Rome, and because they were far more religious than the actual Romans were, that they switched it from Rome to the Holy Roman Empire. And
That's right.
because there was so much nobility already in France, it just little by little they kind of took over after even though the Germans initiated it, is they kind of took over, and that's why when we had the papal state, but the emperor. And the sword of the whole Holy Roman Empire was France, right? And then you get it coming into
Right.
Charlemagne, you're coming into all of that. I'm not going to get into the history, it's very long. But and it didn't, and it stayed that way for a long time. I don't know how the Germans screwed it up this bad, but they did. And it took them all the way until about 400 years ago with the Protestant Reformation, where they backed that to kind of push the Romans out and take power. And they still had to deal with the French, because that was the sword, that was the Holy Roman Emperor, the sword of the Papal States. But it took them all that time to get power back. So what this means is the French, in particular, held a lot of rich people, and that's
Yeah.
why so much of the food and stuff is kind of encapsulated in that single country, right? Even after
I
the
see.
revolts and stuff they had with the Francis revolt, which was an axe. But that's what
I
we
mean,
you just think of that. Their country's named after an axe. I mean,
that's
Jesus.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Even the Greeks have better food than the French.
I don't know.
Like, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I don't understand how the French get this reputation, right? And you gotta go to France, learn from the masters. Okay, fine, but they suck. I've had French food. It's not good. It's not. It's not okay. It's not the worst thing ever. It's edible,
There are
but
some things that are good. Yeah.
it's just not. I'll give them crepes. Crepes are
Yeah.
pretty good.
Cheese.
They did good.
Yeah.
They did a good job with crepes. Yeah,
I like
but I
I
can't give
like
them
red
credit for
wine
cheese.
reductions.
The reason why I can't give them credit for cheese is because cheese is kind of just a pan-European thing. They have their own versions of it, sure, but it's hard to give
Yeah,
one
I get
group
you, but
all
they are kind
credit
of the
for it.
most famous for it. No, and they of
That's
course
true.
have adopted and stolen a lot of stuff. But I'm not as harsh as you are, but I get your point. I think the Italians are a stronger food culture than the French per se. But
Oh, way, way
I think
stronger.
there's another factor. I can't remember his name. Was it Robespierre? Was his name? Or is that the
Could be.
revolution guy? Whatever. There was a French dude long time ago, like 80 years ago, or I don't remember how long. It was a while back, in the 20th century, where what he did is he took all the kind of chef techniques and he put them into a book with measurements. Yeah.
Hmm.
And this radically changed the housewife's way of preparing, because women have, of course, been cooking for their families for, the beginning of time, right?
Just
But by putting everything in a book and everything measured recipe, it allowed the average housewife to really expand their culinary offer to their family. And I think these days we kind of have such a high respect for the French because it was a French dude that did that. I think that's a big part of it, But you got to keep in mind the French technique, the cooking techniques that they use are, scientific, and they're actually have spread worldwide. Even the Chinese, who have thousands of years of culinary expertise, incorporate French techniques. So I
yes.
think that's a big point too. Yeah,
Yeah.
the cone
It's a
heads
shame
are
that they
from
have all
France,
these
Dave.
techniques. They have all these techniques, and yet they suck at implementing them.
Yeah,
It's a
well,
shame.
they're
Everybody
French.
else takes them and is like, listen, we
Come on,
make that
let's be
we
nice.
take your shit, we do it better. Everybody else has done that to the French
Yeah.
since for a long time, and good because they deserve it because they smell, love wine and cheese. Chester, all of them as a
Hmm.
unit,
Hmm.
the whole country, just big. You fly over it, it hits you in the air.
It does.
Just
It
wine
does.
and cheese.
Yeah. Although, like I said, I don't like wine itself, but I do love a wine reduction, particularly a red wine reduction. I do love that. It makes a great sauce. But
It does.
Italian desserts are meh, though cannolis. I I think I prefer Italian desserts over pretty much anybody else's desserts, to be honest with you,
Well, who
personally.
gets credit for ice cream? Because let's be honest, that's
The
the king of
French,
desserts in the West.
the French do.
They get one thing then. I'll give
Okay,
them that.
you give
Ice
them that.
cream's amazing.
Okay. And
But that's
Eric, you
it.
brought up Buddy Cianci. Damn, dude. I haven't heard that name in forever in the Federal Hill Gang. Yeah, dude, then they're corrupt as hell. Here's one, Eric. I'll throw one back at you. Salty Brian.
Oh,
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
sounds like a drink.
That's local
Salty
info. No,
Brian.
don't you dare disrespect Salty Brian. He's awesome. Julia Tribe was instrumental in bringing French cooking into the household. She was, Eric. And what was she doing? She was reading out of that very same French book I was talking about. But Julia Child is incredibly important. Yeah, and it's kind of shocking how important she
Joe
is.
understands.
Huh?
Joe understands. Escargot. They eat snails, Chester.
They
They eat
do, but
snails.
the Japanese do too.
The
A
hell.
lot of people eat weird
Well,
shit.
the Japanese will eat anything. They're crazy.
Yeah,
Let's leave them over there in
that's
Japan
fine.
where they belong. They'll eat
Uh,
anything.
I'm gonna have to
They
edge
even
him.
eat raw horse.
I'm gonna have to
Like, what are
educate
we
the
doing?
Captain Canada though. Yeah. French fries are not French. Poutine is, well, we'll give that to the Canadians. Chocolate croissant, once again, probably an American variation. And Veron cake. I don't know what the hell that is.
Geek.
But no school today in Forster, Gloucester. True, Eric.
It's pretty bad
Oh,
when
shit.
you have a culture that's world renowned, the French culture. Everybody knows it and nobody likes it, but it's renowned. Uh, and then you have a country like Canada, the nice guy country allegedly, and they basically just take the best parts of the French culture and integrated it with the English culture and made Canada. So they've been replaced even in the one thing that they do that is world renowned, which is culture. It's amazing to me. It's amazing to me. Can we listen? I'm petitioning right now. Let's kick France out of NATO, put Russia in, and invade France. Can we
Oh,
do
that would
that?
be, yeah, okay. Wow, we got lots of
Yeah,
French hate today. Lots of French hate. All
that's
right.
right. Yeah,
And
I don't like it.
Eric, just so down on Point Judith Road, they have that big farm ranch thing that's been there forever with a stone wall trailing it in the front. I almost bought that some years back, dude. That big old ranch has been up for sale for a while. I don't know if someone's bought it since, but I was very close to buying that, but they were just asking too much. There's well, anyway, it's for Eric. Anyway, but that's a nice piece of land, dude. So
Got me fired up with the French again. Every time with this guy.
yeah, I know.
Every time.
Yeah, yeah.
They show up. They show up
you and the
7 years
French.
late to help America in a war, and that we're supposed to thank them forever. Get out of here.
Yeah,
Get out of here,
well,
France.
they're not. They're not really good at that. If we look at the history of it, they're kind of. Anyway,
They had
let's.
one guy who did some stuff, and then now they think they're all top shit. No, France, you're not. You got your ass beat every time you fought anybody. What are you talking about?
Was that guy called Joan of Arc?
No, that guy was Napoleon, and even he got his ass beat because he got cocky.
That's true. That's true. But anyway, let's. We got some TMZ action. On the channel. That
What
means
is
it's
here?
legitimate. Yeah. TMZ. Go ahead, dude.
TMZ is here. This is a very sad one. This is probably why I'm upset with the French because I
Mm,
blame them.
mm.
Power Rangers Jason David Frank dead by suicide at 49. The Green Ranger, the White Ranger, the Red Ranger, and the Black Ranger.
All gone.
He's done. He's out. He was the quintessential Power Ranger. He was synonymous with the franchise. Yeah, that sucks. He's only 49 years old,
Yeah.
killed himself. We don't really know exactly why, but obviously his wife trying to divorce him probably had something to do with it. It really sucks. Really, really sucks because he's one of those guys who really loved being a Power Ranger. He loved that people still knew him from it.
Mhm.
You know, it was his whole life was being part of that deal. He's not one of these guys like a lot of these dudes who get famous for one thing and then they hate that thing, right? Because
Yeah,
it's
a
not
lot of them
anybody
do
ever
that.
knows before.
So many,
No, he was never like that, and he was always. I've never seen or heard of any fan that had a negative interaction with him. If you were a fan, he was a fan of you, and
that's cool.
it's just a shame. It's a real shame. It genuinely does seem like it was because of the divorce or the attempted divorce by his wife. Probably just broke him. Um, and it happens. It does happen, especially at that age. That's unfortunately
There's a
very common for a
much
man.
higher suicide rate amongst men than these days than traditionally. But
Yeah.
Captain Canada. Therefore, just call it a goddamn Twinkie. Okay.
You see, he's just proving my point. The Americans took that thing, made the Twinkie, and made it better.
Made it
And now
immortal.
everybody just knows it as a Twinkie.
Made it
That's right.
immortal. Yeah, it'll never go bad. Although everybody should turn your volume down a little bit because I have a little bit of a epiphany for old Thundero here. He's French.
Yeah, I know. I'm aware.
Yeah,
I'm aware. That's why I blame them.
Name.
That's right. I don't know if that's his real name, but that's the name he was famous for.
He's definitely French. Look at that face. That is so French.
Yeah, he's a French boy.
Yeah.
But no, it's tragic. It really is, especially for people my age or a little younger, or a little older even. The Power Rangers was a big deal in the early '90s. Huge deal.
Was
it had
through your generation.
2 movies.
Certainly.
Yeah, it was everywhere, and he was the reason. He was the star. He became the star. He came in and took the show over because he was so popular. And he's just gone. That's it. It sucks because, like I was telling Chester before we got on here, I don't know what it is with this time of year, but this is dying season.
It is.
And we lost Kevin.
Yeah.
We lost Kevin Conroy, and now we lost the Power Ranger, the man, the myth himself. I mean, these two are icons in their respective industry franchises, whatever you want to call it. And there's just no replacing them. And it really, I don't typically care too much if a famous person dies, but these last two, they were ones that were special to me.
Yeah, no,
and they're gone.
that is true. Certain deaths affect us stronger than others. For me, it was what's his name? God damn it, the Muppets guy, Jim Henson. Henson's death was palpable. As another weird one, maybe this isn't the same for everybody, but John Candy.
Yeah, me too. When I was real young, because that happened when I was real young.
Yeah.
But even as a young man, a real young kid, it bugged me. I was like, "What? Really? John Candy? I love John Candy. He's in everything."
Yeah, he was a really nice guy too. It seems, but you can't be that fat for that long, dude. Your body is. It's just the body ain't happy with it, man. Just the way it is.
You never fully recover from getting too heavy. Like when I was well over 300, I'm still sore from it. My knees will still creak and crack. Like I don't think I'll ever fully recover. My calf that I blew out trying to run up a hill.
Yeah.
If I strain it too much, it'll hurt. I just don't recover. You just don't recover.
Yeah. I mean, I've had my huskier days for sure, but it just you need to control that. Just for your simple quality of life. But to each his own. Robert Clary from Hogan's Heroes passed away too. That's true. Yeah. But but these guys are way older than these ones we've been talking about recently. Kevin Conroy, of course, Batman. He was only 60 something. It's not really that old. This guy is, younger than me. And he's dead. And what a shame. I did know that, TMZ, the only time we see TMZ was when Thundero suggests something, by the way. So we wink, wink, everybody. We know where he's at. Okay.
Well, the weird thing about TMZ is this is the sort of stuff they are remarkably accurate with. For whatever reason, when it comes to like suicides, they're on it. They got it. They got the scoop. They got the in. They know. Yeah. But anything else, you just take with a grain of salt. But if they said that somebody killed themselves, not somebody died, somebody killed themselves, they probably true.
I don't have anything against TMZ particularly. I don't really know much about them, to be honest with you. I do love the sidebar, though. Two of the four slain Idaho students made frantic calls. So, was there another shooting in America?
Apparently, yeah, because
In
Democrats are in
Idaho?
charge. So
In
yeah, they happen all
Idaho?
the time.
Are you kidding me? What is a Shanquella? What the hell's up with your name? Shanquella. Dead in Cabo. Wow, dude. You've really screwed up bad if you died in Cabo. Damn, dude.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and they talk about the Idaho College. Also, was a college. Uh, why is Adele crying as seeing as she's got a new Vegas show? What are you doing, Adele? God. Yeah, okay. Idaho though, that's weird. Anyway, let's move along. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but safe journey, sir. Yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into a few things that were on the Discord. By the way, matter of fact, I'm sure Thunder will go and drop it in the chat for you. If you're not part of the Discord, please do join us. The guys have a lot of conversations over there, and of course, if you're in the Discord, you can jump on the show with us and you know have a chat. We're happy. This is not that kind of show. You're welcome to come in anytime and have a chat with us. You just jump into the live, someone will make sure you get in there. So please do
Yeah,
that. Let's see
right
here.
on cue. Right when you said that, Grimlock popped in.
Hey, Grimlock.
Perfect timing there, Grimlock.
Yeah.
I, I
LeBeau
know.
was the last guy left from Hogan's Hero. Really, Elrod. Elrod's so full of great information. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah, that's rough because I grew up watching Hogan's Heroes with my mom and stuff on like TV Land or whatever, and it's a shame. It was a
Oh, I love
great
that
show,
show.
hilarious,
Love that show.
hilarious.
And
Yeah,
we
and
lost
think
the
about it. Think about it, Chester. You know how sensitive people are nowadays about Nazis and blah 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 blah. In the 50s, in the 60s, you had a show directly about the Nazi camps, and nobody was crying. There wasn't
dude
a
that
bunch of whining from all these
true,
groups.
and that was a think finger in the eye because the entire cast was Jewish.
Yeah,
The
Yep.
whole cast was Jewish, so there was a thumb in the eye, really, of what they were doing. But yeah, no, you're right, and it's such a great show. And we lost Schultz
oh,
just a
so
few
good.
years back too. He lived a
Yep.
long time. That guy was
He
super old.
refused.
Yeah, no, 'cause
He
we
refused
lost
to
him
die.
not too long ago.
Yep.
96. Oh goodness gracious, Dave. Yeah, it's still the Schultz guy. I wonder how old he was when he died because it was within the last decade, right?
I don't even want to live to 96. Maybe if I'm like
My
Clint
grandmother
Eastwood
did.
fit into
Yeah.
my 90s, but otherwise, no, man, that sounds horrible.
Well,
Horrible. The
life is
body, the
life.
human body just doesn't like being that old. It's not a fan of it.
Hmm. Well, let's take a look at some of the stuff we did take off the Discord, as I was mentioning it here. Fans leaving flowers for Kevin Conroy at the Batman statue in Burbank. That's nice.
That is nice.
It is nice.
No
People,
replacing him.
yeah, no, he was the voice of Batman for sure. And I know people will argue this, but I would say he was the best Batman,
Yeah, he was.
in my
But
opinion. Yeah.
no competition. Like undisputed, I would say. It's silly when people make these delineations, simply because if you're just talking overall, you have to include overall. And overall, he's by far he had the longest tenure as Batman, and I
Oh,
don't
he
think there's
did
a
for
person
sure.
in their 30s alive or 30s or older alive who doesn't consider his voice to be Batman's voice.
Well, it's
Period.
still watched. That show is still
Yeah.
being watched and streamed and stuff like that. Joe says, well, some people did complain, not about the Nazis on the show, but that was making light of the camps, like it was fun and games and not murderous. Well, yeah, but it was to show that the Germans were buffoons, was the whole point. And of course, that show, interesting, Hogan's Heroes, was taken out of a very serious movie called Stalag 13. And I think I saw a movie. They didn't name it the same, but it was basically a remake of Stalag 13 that was even bleaker. That came out in the past, in the 21st century here. But yeah, if you haven't seen Stalag 13, that prompted them to do a parody of it. Yeah, go watch that. Damn. Let's see. Passed away in '87. We're pretty sure you're thinking about Colonel Klink. Yeah, I was. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was thinking of Klink. Thank you very much, Dave. Schultz was. I was thinking about the monocle guy. You're right, Colonel Klink. Werner Klepper. But John Banner, the guy who played Schultz, he was wonderful though. I love that guy. I mean, he was that uncle everyone wanted, right? As he was a good man. And of course, in the show, Klink wasn't a bad man either. Because one of the things they did in the show, and I can't remember the actor's name, but the guy who played the SS guy who would show up, the Gestapo guy that would show up every now and then, they were afraid of them. So even the Germans in the camp weren't really evil. It was the Gestapo guys that were evil in that show. What was that guy's name? Elrod. Help me out. That the little short Jewish guy, little teeny Jewish guy. But he was great. What was his name? Oh God, I can't remember. I love that show. Richard Dawson died in 2014. Yeah, I remember that. But you were right though, Dave. I was thinking about Klink. You're right. But someone find out who that the name of the character and the actor, please, for that little Gestapo guy. Hofstetter. Thanks, Dave. Yeah. He was awesome, dude. They must have had that show. And one of the reasons it lasted for whatever amount of seasons it did is because obviously they were having a great time. They were enjoying themselves and having fun. And you can, and anytime a show is doing that, it has a life because you can feel it, right? They were having that Hofstadter guy. I can't think of the character, the actor's name, but oh, he just must have had the happiest days doing that character, man. So, and they even did an episode,
Kane.
huh?
His name was Howard Kane.
Howard Kane. Yeah, okay. But he was wonderful. Yeah, that's a great show, Hogan's Heroes. Yeah, yeah. But anyway, so I just thought this is from Elrod actually, and I just thought it was a nice little. It's nice, man. Yeah, it's nice. We got a
Good.
couple of things here from
Good.
the Discord. We got another one here. This was put up by. Was this the Elrod one? Maybe this was the Elrod one, and this was Thundero. I don't remember.
I don't remember
I
either.
can't remember who put it up, but maybe this was the Elrod one. Yeah, maybe. What do you think?
Maybe. My only problem with it is Carl's a little old now. He's he's got to be in his 50s, I would imagine, or late 40s. So it could work, but I think for me, Lobo always seems like a man, and well, obviously he's as old as he needs to be, but I would say he's in his mid 30s at the oldest. So
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know. It also depends on the face paint. I personally think if we're going to stick with the idea that it should have been Jason Momoa, obviously it can't be Jason Momoa now, but it could be The Rock's cousin Roman Reigns. Slap the face paint on him.
That's fair.
You're
Roman
in.
could pull that off. Yeah, and he's boy, is he big enough though.
Oh yeah, he's a big boy. No, he's like 6'2", 6'3".
Yeah,
pretty jacked. He's almost as big as The Rock. He's just not as like shredded as The Rock. The Rock's got a lot of steroids.
Well, he's more athletic. Yeah. I think, to be honest with you, if The Rock were still in the ring, he wouldn't be as big as he is anyway. I don't think he would be. The only guys that really keep that body shape are the ones who don't really wrestle well, like a John Cena or something like that. It's more about the look than it is about the actual performance. And if I remember correctly, some of the wrestling I've seen with The Rock, he was actually a pretty solid ring general in his wrestling ability.
People sleep on him. No, he was. He was fantastic. He was actually very, very good in the ring. It was just his style isn't what most like wrestling people consider to be, the top of styles. But as far as his ring work, it was fine. The only problem he had, which was kind of okay because of who he is, is he oversold a little bit, so he'd get hit with something and it would be the most dramatic shit ever.
Oh,
But
sure.
because his character is ridiculously dramatic, it's fine. But regardless, no, The Rock was. I mean, you don't
Well,
get to be at that level,
no,
especially in that era,
he
without
had a
being
bit
good
of
in the ring.
he had a bit of Ric Flair in him. That's for damn sure.
Oh yeah. Fuck. Oh,
Yeah. But we all know, even though there are some honorable mentions like Dusty Rhodes, the best wrestler of all time is Dolph Ziggler. So, you know,
this guy's a big Ziggler fan. I love it.
Dude,
I approve.
that dude sells. He sells. He puts his body in there. I
does.
love Dolph Ziggler.
He's
But
a master seller.
he is. He's really good at what he does. I like Randy too. Randy Orton, another, and that's another
Smooth as
legacy
butter.
guy. Oh God, he's really really good. He's super smooth, dude. Those snap head breaks or neck breaks he does. My God, dude.
The RKO. He's also got that snap power power
That
slam
power
that he
slam,
does.
that it's so clean, dude.
Beautiful.
But Dolph Ziggler is the best. Argument. There's no conversation. Just shut up. Yeah.
Fine, I won't argue with you.
Yes.
But I will agree, he is definitely in ring one of the best performers of all time. He's amazing.
That dude can do everything, and he's a smaller fella, but he's not too small to be seen as small. But he's not, one of the big guys. But Dolph is so necessary. Think about how many years of WWE, I guess we have to call it, without him. He's so important. I think he's so vital. But anyway, yeah. Oh, the diamond cutter. No, his Orton, he's big enough
Orton
and has enough
jumps
power
into his-
that he can pull things off and so smooth, so clean, and safely too. I mean, because some of these wrestlers are what is the wrestling term for a person who's kind of a hard narker? What's the term? There's a word for it. The guys
kind of a hard hitter who's stiff.
Yeah,
That
the
what you're talking about?
stiff. There it is. Thank you, stiff.
Yeah.
And I've never heard that about Randy.
No, he's smooth.
He's
just
so
smooth as butter.
dude.
Yeah.
I'm going
The
to
only
get
person
into
who ever gets hurt in Randy Orton matches is Randy.
That's true.
He hurts himself a lot, but he typically is a safe worker.
Well, I saw him tear his arm in a match, and I saw it happen too. And of course, he was out for a little while. I don't know if they announced an injury; they probably didn't. But I saw him do it, and it was him basically, cradling someone so they didn't hit as hard as because I don't know who made the mistake. It was Randy or the other guy, but he was going to hit really hard, and Randy just sacrificed himself for it, and he tore that back of his shoulder. It looked like. But anyway, let's move on. I don't hate this idea though. Yeah.
I don't hate it either. I think he's characterization wise, he's perfect. He could kill that. I just don't know if he has the physical anymore. Right? He's an older guy now. He's not in the shape he used to be. He could probably get back in that shape, I guess. But does he want to?
Does he
It's
want
up to Carl.
But Carl always delivers. I mean, he's a solid actor, and he takes his job seriously.
And he's been around for a long time. People don't even realize he's been around a long time. He's one of those guys who's just kind of there. He's always just there and does his job very, very well. Like, I forgot he was in Lord of the Rings. I completely forgot.
Yeah,
then I was like, oh my God, that's Carl Urban.
He's in a
like
ton
my
of
brain
stuff. That's true.
Yeah.
I still say my favorite thing from him was his Dread, though. Not just for him, saying, "Yep, I'm not taking this helmet off," which good on you, Mr. Urban, but just it felt like Dread to me. Where Stallone,
also,
not really.
Yeah, Stallone was something else. I like that movie, but it's not really Judge Dredd.
Yeah. Grimlock has awoken.
What? But because we know that he'll wear that helmet.
Urban is Dread.
No, I don't.
No, you don't. Okay, good. That's good. We thought we were going to come at odds there.
No.
But because he did the Dread thing, we know he would do the face paint, and he would stay. There wouldn't be any nonsense where suddenly he doesn't have the white in that face right there.
Right.
Because we know Carl will do what needs done.
Yeah, no, he can put the eagle on the side. Yeah.
And though the Stallone movie is not a classic Dread, still very entertaining.
It is
Yes.
entertaining. It is. It is. I'm not going to take that away from it. It's a fun movie.
I have to go.
Yeah. But when Carl did that, I was like, damn, man. Why didn't we get freaking decade of that, dude? I mean, it was
Because it bombed.
so
That's
good,
why.
man. It was so
Didn't make
good.
enough money.
Yeah, and they had a lady judge in there, which makes the Hollywood types happy, and she did a pretty good
Yep.
job too, I thought. I
Yep.
like that movie. It's solid. And Cupid from Hercules. Wow, you're going back, man. But yeah,
Oh yeah.
Carl's been around a long time, and I loved his
Kiwi
Bones.
boy.
I know that
Yeah.
the J.G. Abrams reboot of Star Trek isn't great, but I loved him as that, and Zachary Quinto was a perfect casting as well. They just used him
Yep.
wrong.
I think even what's his name was fine as Kirk. They just again the script betrayed the great casting.
Yeah,
It just
I
wasn't
never
Star
cared
Trek. I
for
think he would have
Pine
nailed it.
as Kirk. It just didn't feel right to me.
I think if you would have given him Kirk-like material and actually had him be Captain Kirk, I think he'd been fine.
Yeah,
I think he had
calm,
enough of the look.
decisive. You know,
Yes,
Kirk.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that
If he
would've
was
been nice.
Kirk, I think he would have been fine. But he wasn't Kirk. He was some like
No,
weird
he was some angsty
college
teenager.
interpretation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
weird.
It was weird.
Yeah, very weird. They
I
don't
don't know. I
understand
don't
Kirk.
get why they can't get Kirk right. I don't get why they can't get. I mean, I understand why I do, but it's just so annoying. They can't get
Well-
Picard right. They can't get any of them right anymore. Like they
It-
just refuse to do
well,
it properly.
Keep in mind that Picard has a little bit to do with the actor himself, but no,
Yeah.
they have the wrong perception of Kirk. They think he's this center of machismo, and that's like
right.
not even close. I mean, yeah, he kissed a lot of ladies, but that's about as far as you get with that. He was a very solid captain. People think it was like he was headstrong and he would take chances and risks. Not really. He was very
Only
much
if he
a
had
good
to.
captain. Only if he had to.
Yeah, only if
You
he
know,
had to.
he's much more like an old, and I'm sure he studied because we know William Shatner and he takes his shit seriously, dude.
He
He's
does.
like more of an old British captain out in the world having to figure out how to survive, where Picard
Yeah.
was much more of the fleet admiral type of guy, and he did a great job as
Right.
that. But it's a very different situation.
Well, it's also a
Yeah.
different era.
It
So
is.
the era of Star Trek that well, the first era ever told, but in the canon that Kirk is in is much more cowboy. It's much more frontiery.
Yeah,
It's
said it.
much more exploratory.
Wagon master.
Uh,
Good job, Dave.
Yeah, exactly. And whereas Picard's era, they've been out here a while. Right, the Federation's a big behemoth of an empire. Let's call it what it is, and it's been out here a while. So there's far more routine to it. There's far more systemizing to it and structure. And Picard is the perfect captain for that system.
Well,
And Kirk was the perfect captain for the more what they call, and I think it's in one of the movies they call it cowboy diplomacy.
yeah, well, and
Yes,
it was,
exactly.
and the people who created the Next Generation very clearly thought about that when they were writing
Yes.
it. We see the stuff these days coming out with the new stuff from Bad Robot. And it's just you're not really paying attention to it. No, you're right. The era of discovery versus the era of diplomacy. You're right. That's right.
That's right.
But anyway,
I
we
think you
could
could
talk
even
all day
put
on
it
Star
if
Trek.
you wanted to. Well, real quick, if you wanted to put it in, there's this theory that all great civilizations have certain eras they have to go through to become great civilizations. There's the foundational myth era, which we see in the First Contact movie in a way, and then there's the Age of Heroes, and I think Kirk was their Age of Heroes.
Yeah.
Where these people are doing things that are very unusual and extraordinary, and that's how Kirk is perceived. He's almost a mythical figure in a lot of ways. Whereas
He is.
Picard is much more of the now it's become routine, and you're in the much more of the second era, which has different names, but you could basically just call it the mundane era, which is where the myth is established, the heroes are established. Now you're living in their aftermath. And most empires, actually, most great civilizations, that's when they have their greatest boom, is after their Age of Heroes because they're trying to live up to this image they've built of themselves, right? And that's what happens. America went through it. Rome went through it. Pretty much every great civilization to ever exist has gone through it. And I think that's kind of what they were doing with the two generations of Star Trek. They
Yeah.
called it the Next Generation.
No, it was clever. It was good, solid writing, which we don't see much anymore. And the
Yep.
thing with Kurtzman and his rebooting of Star Trek through JJ and then his boy Kurtzman through Bad Robot is once again something I've been complaining about for years. These people do not do their research. Because if
That's
you
right.
watch that reboot with Abrams and then later with the Kurtzman stuff, they've clearly not watched the original series. They clearly have not. Right? And it's like we see this so much these days. These people do not do their research. It's like, this is your job. You're getting paid a lot more money than the average person does. A lot of money. Do your fucking job, dude. It just
Yep.
irritates me.
It's very frustrating, especially with something as rich as Star Trek that for these sorts of ideological people should be easy. It should be a slam dunk because it's already leaning your way. The mythos
Especially with
is and the canon
Roddenberry.
and just
I mean,
the
Jesus,
ethics of
dude.
it.
He,
Yeah.
Utopian storytelling. I mean, come on, dude.
Yeah.
But they read the hell out of Star Trek on Wikipedia. They might well, Ben. But you know what I mean, Ben. We see so much of it these days. They just don't do their research, dude. It irritates me, especially with all the
Yes.
money they're getting paid. It's like, dude, just do your job, man. Just do your job.
But Chester, you know why they do that, right?
Because they're lazy asses?
No, it's because they're narcissists. I about
Yep.
this before. These people do what they do to these franchises, not because they're lazy. It's because they think that they would have done a better job telling that story.
Well,
Because if you look at most of these
clearly
shows,
not true.
they're literal rehashes of what's been done before. It's
Yeah.
they're not even. That's why when you hear that shit reimagined for a modern audience, basically my Tumblr fanfic by such and such.
Yeah, but Tumblr's dead, isn't it? But
They're
no,
fixing it.
That's true. I know. I understand what Grimlock's saying, and Elrod here
No.
talking about market research. That's another problem as well. But but it's sad.
La-
Hopefully it'll
lazy
flip
is
around.
Brian's finger.
Remember
well,
when
okay,
Star
fine.
Trek? Remember when Star Trek moved the market? Remember that? I remember that. I
Sure.
remember that as a kid. Star Trek: The Next Generation changed the fucking world. Remember
Well,
when they did that?
yeah.
Star Trek has that power. Remember when Star Wars did it in the 70s? Yeah. I don't remember. I wasn't alive yet, but I'm pretty sure I lived in its wake. Remember that?
Oh no, I do remember.
This idea that we have to follow what the market says is nonsense.
Yeah.
You have to make something great first, and then the market will come to you if you're in this industry.
Yeah.
The fact that so much stuff has been financialized and corporatized is the problem with Hollywood. It's the main issue. There's no creativity left, and when there is creativity, it gets washed away in the sea of
by
market
executives and
research.
suits. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And it's really unfortunate because JJ clearly wanted to do Star Wars, and then they gave him Star Wars after the Star Trek, which that was a big mistake. But the thing, the one of the big differentiating points between Star Trek and Star Wars was Star Trek was science fiction, and Star Wars was space opera fantasy. It was literally
That's right.
cowboys in space. Old JJ and his people didn't really get that. Right?
And they didn't care to.
No, because like that movie, Star Trek the movie, right? Back in their era, where everything was the movie. That is so pure science fiction. I mean, there's like
good too.
one little destruction of a ship from the V'ger, but it's pure science fiction. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on. Hold on, we got to. My goodness. Here.
Let's move on. John Leguizamo outraged
Oh,
that the Super Mario Brothers movie did not cast an actor of what?
Color. The word
It
is
broke
color.
my brain. Sorry. It did not cast an actor of color as title hero. They're going backwards. John, Italians are white, buddy. What are we doing here?
Yeah, Italians or Latinos, because keep in mind he's not Italian. He is what, Mexican American, and talks about it
Italians are white.
incessantly. But
You're right, John. You're going backwards. You're going
yes,
back to
John.
about 100 years ago when the whites in America didn't consider the Italians to be white, so they
Yeah,
made them
it's
they
weird.
made them mark on different
Um,
forms that they were Italian instead of white.
Well, John has been on this race card rant for years now, and
Oh,
it's really sad. He just constantly pulls a race card, constantly pulling it, and of course the irony being is you're not Italian either, Mr. Leguizamo. But I did want to kind of delve into this a little bit because we're talking about Mario here, right? Mario. So let's look at the
actor of
history
color.
just a touch. So what do we got here? Oh, this fella right here, the
Yeah,
voice of Mario forever,
that's him.
right?
That's right.
He doesn't look very of color. Matter of fact, he seems to be
No,
lacking it.
that's right.
No,
A
he's
lot of
French.
not much
If I'm
melanin
not
going on
mistaken.
here, right? Happy
Damn
dude though.
French.
Uh, it's Mario, okay. But
It's
also,
me.
let's continue with the fact that, yeah, this is the guy that created Mario. He's not.
That's right.
He's Japanese. Miyamoto-san.
He's a famed white supremacist.
I mean,
It's
really,
so
John?
stupid.
Did you not think for a second, John? You know, here's the
Look
dude
at
that gave us
look at
Mario.
that white supremacist there.
I know he's
It's
Miyamoto-san.
killing me.
He's so bad, and he's got a weird first name too, Shigeru. You don't see that very much. But I also, because he's
Oh,
going on about, because one of the things John does a lot is he complains that the Latinos get no chances in Hollywood. Hollywood hates Latinos. He's on and on and on and on and on, even though every person with half a brain knows right well that Latinos have been in Hollywood since day one.
that's right.
John, excuse me, John, where does cinema come from? It's right. It's not the Americans. Where's that from? Germany, France, Italy, Spain. Oh, that's right.
That's
So in the very inception, in the 19th century, John, there were tons of Latinos in cinema, and there has always been Latinos. Matter of fact, let me just throw one out for you. You know, Desi Arnaz. Fuck you,
that's
John
him.
Leguizamo. I mean,
By the
this is,
way, just
you
in
know how
case
powerful
anybody
this
doesn't
guy
know,
was? You know how powerful this guy
exactly.
was?
This guy created modern Hollywood more than any other central figure at the time because it was his demand to use certain techniques that allowed a lot of those old shows to still exist today. The film would have degraded if they didn't. I can't remember what they did. Special film. If he wouldn't have put it
Yeah.
on that film, they wouldn't exist. They
Oh,
would have
they've
lost
lost
it
so
because
much
it would have
film, dude.
degraded.
So much film.
And they've
Uh,
lost so
De-
many things.
Desilu Studios.
hmm
Without Desilu Studios, we do not have Hollywood as it is
Yeah.
today.
That's correct.
Not just the cinema, but as TV. Because without Lucy and Desi, you don't have syndication.
Yeah, no, it's
That's
true.
right.
I mean,
They made that.
that's why I chose Desi Arnaz, right? Because of
Oh
how
yeah,
powerful and influential this guy was. People talk about Lucille Ball, and that's fine. She was the face of it,
and
but that was the man right there.
That's right.
and imagine this: millions of racist white people tuned in every week to watch an interracial couple, and none of those white supremacists turned to salt.
Yeah, I know.
That's right.
Yeah, and it was super popular. Went on forever. It's still funny. You go back and watch
Hilarious.
Lucy
Oh
shows.
yeah,
It's funny.
yeah.
Hilarious.
Um,
And then Corlac over here, Ben makes a good point. I was going to bring him up, but I forgot. Martin Sheen and his entire family
well, the
are
Estevez,
Latinos.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
yes,
it's
but
Del
not
Wolf.
just them, dude. You can go even deeper. Machete. He's beloved, beloved,
that's right.
right? There are
That's right.
so many Latinos in the industry, whether it be movies or music. There's so many.
Guillermo del Toro,
Sure,
Robert
Ricky Martin.
Rodriguez, Ricky Martin. I mean, you could just sit here and name them. Antonio Banderas. You
Oh,
can just sit here
God,
and
love
name them.
Antonio, man.
Well,
But
here-
it also
here-
goes
here's
back
a-
to the inception of filmmaking with the kinetoscope, right? Back in the
That's right.
19th century. Because keep in mind, cameras and video cameras are way older than you think they are. They have been
That's right.
around for a long time. This whole cinema thing started in the 19th century. and it really started to pick up in the very burgeoning during the war time, the First World War time. It picked up a lot. But there is so many Latinos, back all the way up until I'd say the 30s. Cinema was a European thing, not an American thing. The Americans came on later, and of course, they dominated from then on. But even in that, we have tons of fame. Like, what's that lady? That lady in Cat People, which is I mentioned it. It's weird. It comes up again with that Luton film. Um, the lady in that is Latino as well, and she is revered for her role, not only in that but also the Curse of the Cat People. So I mean, I'm sorry, I just Leguizamo's a fucking moron, dude. He pisses me off. God damn it, John.
It's just so stupid. It's so stupid. You can make a case for some other groups, maybe, right? You have a better argument. You do not have a good argument with Hispanics and Latinos. You just simply don't. It's ridiculous.
No.
And then to compare an Italian man to a person of color is just racist.
But especially
like that's just pure
he's
racism.
not Italian, and he played Luigi.
That's correct.
What are you doing,
That's
John?
I know what he's doing. I'm pretty sure you've noticed this, Chester, that Hollywood has one person who would be considered like a mid-carder in wrestling.
Yep.
They got a mid-carder to spout the ideological bullshit so they can point and go, oh, see? He says it should be like this too. No. John, shut the fuck up.
Please.
He used to be cool.
He used to be cool. So cool. You ever see
you married a Jew, and then you went and bought into this bullshit to keep your meal ticket going. Shut the fuck up. Just nobody's giving a shit. You've been in Hollywood for almost 40 years. If you was that worried about Latino representation, you could have done what Robert Townsend did back in the 80s. You could make your own fucking movies. You could make your own fucking shows. Mm-hmm. And then you could have that fucking representation you so desperately say that you want that you ain't getting, in spite of the fact that you have a near 40-year career.
And another thing that kills me with it is if you go back, when I was talking about it originally, and it continued up through the 40s, and then you had a Spanish resurgence in the 60s and 70s, and then of course they fell into their economic troubles. But you're seeing currently in the past 20 years another Latino resurgence, not only with actors, with directors and producers. There's some really, really good ones. So it's like, John, you're literally living in a Latino golden age right now when it comes to cinema stuff, and you're bitching. It's insane to me, dude.
It's grifting is what it is.
Yeah.
He's just bought into the grift, hook, line, and sinker. And that's what he's gonna sink his ship with. Apparently, he's gonna ride this rocket right into the ground. And it's just, it broke my brain for a minute. I wasn't trying to be funny. I couldn't believe what I was reading, that he would call an Italian, call for an actor of color to play an Italian character in voice. Not only is it ridiculous on the ethnicity part, but it's a voice actor.
Yeah,
who gives a shit?
Right. I mean, how many really smooth, dulcet black men have done white character voices because they sound awesome? Right.
I mean, the greatest villain in movie history with Darth Vader.
Oh yeah, my God,
is the best example.
Great voice, yeah. But yeah, no. Matter of fact, speaking of James Earl Jones, he is in a really good Spanish B movie. Anyway, but I'm going to move on from this. But it's just because Grimlock mentioned it. But when he was younger, his stand-up routines are great. At a very young age, he mastered the idea that comedy also needs sadness and drama in it. And he was so good when he talked about his dad and his family life. He was really good. But I saw a recent thing. I couldn't even get 10 minutes. He's just constantly on about how bad white people are and about that he's the true natives. And it's like, you are coming from conquistadors, dumbass. I mean, it's so sad, dude.
It is.
It's selling your soul, and this. Even though most people won't associate the term with it, but this is what a house nigga looks like. There it is. That's what a house nigga looks like. He's gonna go out and preach all the masses rhetoric.
Shit.
He's gonna bark on command. He's gonna shit on command.
Oh.
He's gonna pretend. He's gonna pretend. He's gonna pretend like that what he's talking about is so fucking thought provoking. It's fucking Marxist propaganda is what it really fucking is. But because that's where he gets his meal ticket from, because he's an older actor in Hollywood who, yes, he had a niche and he was in a variety of stuff, but they tried to make him a headliner in the 90s and it didn't work. People forget that when he had to show House of Buggin' and they gave him the movie The Pest as his first major lead role. It didn't work. He's one of those guys. He's a sidekick. That's what he should be.
Yeah, and he does it well.
And ain't nothing wrong. And ain't nothing wrong with that. You can have a good long career doing that. But the fact of the matter is, you're gonna sit there and you're gonna bitch about white supremacy and then curl up with your Jewish wife at night. Shut the fuck up, nigga. Shut up.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear that shit.
He is Puerto Rican. That's true. But whatever. I'm gonna move on
and
from
as,
this. But
and as white as skin you have, if it wasn't for your last name, nobody would think you're Hispanic.
No, I didn't miss that, Elrod. I said it very directly. He's a Mexican American, a Puerto Rican American playing an Italian. I mean, he.
Oh yeah, be careful with that, Chester. My aunt is Puerto Rican, and I'll tell you right now, don't ever call her Mexican, because holy.
Well, that's why it's shit, because I remember him calling himself Puerto Rican. But that's true. The Puerto Ricans and Dominicans don't want to be called Mexicans. That is interesting.
Oh, they don't get along. They're not friends.
Like yeah.
Mullen a Mexican.
Yeah, but it's just Jesus, dude. Anyway, I need to go grab a pack of cigarettes, so you guys go ahead and talk about this a little bit.
A pack of cigarettes?
But this is interesting. Go ahead, dude. Yeah,
in seeming dig at Taika Waititi, Thor star Chris Hemsworth says he refuses to work with any more mad genius directors. Good, Chris, because you actually are a talented dude. You actually, could and should and probably will have a long, fruitful career. And Taika is a retard. I'm just going to put it as bluntly. He is a complete retard. He is not a good director on the big stage. It's just simple as that. All he knows how to do is be yuck, 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 yuck. This last Thor movie, by all accounts, not only did it do all of the wrong things learned from the previous Thor movie, it was just a terrible movie from beginning to end. Like, it just didn't have a good story. It didn't have any structure. Storyline didn't make any damn sense. The massive logical plot hole of if Thor could go here, why didn't he go there and wish back his people? Why? Why wouldn't he do that? Stupid, dumb, terrible writing, written by an idiot, directed by a moron, and acted by people who are far, far superior to the quality that was around them governing their performances.
Yeah. And just so you know, Joe, I've never bought a lottery ticket in my life.
Yeah. Never came back.
Yeah, the old trope, right? But my wife buys them sometimes, though. I don't know. I never saw the point.
I only buy them if I can win way, way more than my potential chance of losing is. So if it's like a $2 ticket, because just recently here in America we had a $2.1 billion lottery. $2.1 billion. Like, well, I mean, yeah, I'll play that. Why not? What do I got to lose? $2? I can spare $2, but that's it. I know people in my family even who play them religious. It plays it all the time, all of it. Like, it's like, bro, chill out.
Yeah, I never got gambling much. I've been to the casinos for fun, but I've never cared about gambling. It doesn't make sense to me. Although I do appreciate this. Chester was a rolling stone. Wherever he laid his hat was his home. That's such a great song, dude.
Yep. Yeah.
But I don't think I really want to be that daddy in that song. No. Maybe not
so much.
Maybe not so much. Yeah.
But back to this, Chris. I agree with you. I think, as I said, I think you're fine. I think you've been fine as Thor. You've done what you've been asked. It's not your fault. It's stupid. You are good casting. I think you're a good dude by all accounts. You do have one eye that is slightly off in that. You notice that? I never noticed that before. Unless it's just a weird angle, it looks like he's got a goofy eye there. But regardless of that, I hope he actually gets away from Thor because I want Marvel to crash and burn. But also, Taika's a joke. He's a joke of a director. I'm hoping Disney sees that now and kicks his ass out, and he can go back to making small little indie films where he belongs.
I doubt it because he does what he's told.
Well, right. He's the right kind of cocksucker for them.
He is.
I just can't stand what they've done to my boy. I can't stand what they did to Chris. Chris was actually fine as Thor until Taika got his hands on him.
Well, yeah, no, I agree
it's a
with
shame.
that. But also keep in mind that the current Hemsworth doesn't say much openly, but he gives looks every now and then. We know that YTT is a deviant, right? Like Gunn, we know he's a deviant, and he's into some weird shit. And Chris has made a couple of eye rolls on a couple of occasions to that kind of leaning of that conversation when he was sitting next to YTT and he was making his, off-color jokes. So we know he's had a problem with YTD for quite a while. He doesn't name YTD directly, but he says basically in this article he's saying or in the interview, he doesn't understand why Thor keeps having to try to find himself. You're right, sir.
Yeah. Yes. Good question.
Good question.
Because holy crap, 7 movies in now, and he still doesn't know who he is. I think it's a lost cause, buddy. I think it's a lost cause. You haven't figured it out by now. Holy crap!
Well, I wish he would have spoke up 3 movies ago.
Yeah,
to be honest.
You could tell he wanted to. I honestly think a lot of these guys are frustrated, and I think you're going to see more and more of this coming out from their top talent because the MCU is just a shit show. It just is. Like they've fallen completely apart because of ideological nonsense.
Yeah,
nothing makes sense anymore. Nothing makes sense
anymore. There are no more men left in the MCU. They've all been replaced by females. Well, he's out.
He's it. They've cucked him so hard, it's ridiculous. So
yeah, and he says he's not doing it again. He's done. Yeah.
Good.
He's very clear about it too, and it would have to be some fantastically interesting thing for him to even look at it. So I just wish you spoke up sooner, there, Mr. Hemsworth. But I think he's one of those guys go along to get along type of fellas. We have seen him many times with his kind of his body posture and his gesture, especially when he's sitting next to YTD. I don't think he actually likes him.
Well,
I don't know.
Who could? Have you seen this dude? He's so he's just a douchebag. Like he's just the type of guy that every man knows they would hate to be around.
Yeah.
He's just got all the wrong energy. Whereas Chris, on the other hand, has all the right energy. He looks like he'd actually be kind of cool to hang out with.
Sure.
He's a family guy. I think that's part of it too. Yeah, that's part of it too, right? With Chris, he's a family man. He's married. He's got kids. As far as I know, his relationship's stable. I don't imagine he wants to have his children watch him in a Thor movie that is, stupid or grotesque in any way with humor.
Right.
So
just keep
that's probably a part of it.
And it's ridiculous. And and if you ever seen, and this is the thing, go watch an interview with YTT and you'll see what I mean. It's like Oscar Isaacs is another one, right? Go watch an interview with him. I mean, the most effeminate, deviant people. They're very effeminate, and they're clearly doing weird shit, right? In their lives. And YTD, we have more information than Isaacs per se, because he's got some weird little sex thing going on with his, I don't know, wife maybe, and that the black lesbian girl, which is weird because she keeps telling us, the one that plays Valkyrie, she keeps telling us she's a lesbian, but yet the only relationship I've ever seen her attached to is the little menage a trois she has going on with YTD. Isn't that odd?
Mm-hmm.
It's
'Cause
like
that's not
that,
a massive conflict of interest.
right? But it's like that other idiot there, Ezra Miller, keeps going on about he's gay. The only thing I've seen him talked about is women, young women.
Hmm.
It's weird. It's like, are you just playing a part because you think it gets you more opportunities, which it probably does.
I'm
Basically,
starting to think that's the case. I think it's a way for a lot of low talent people to get through the door because arguing because they have gotten so many people so defensive with that crap. Oh, so you saying you don't want LGBT representation? Yeah, if they fucking suck, hell no, I don't want it.
Uh,
Exactly what I'm saying.
yeah, yeah, it's true. But to be fair, what's his name? What someone find out what's the name of the director of the Resident Evil franchise? But as far as directors getting he's the winner for life because he got
yes,
Mila
Mila,
Jovovich, dude, and they
he
got what
did
5, 6 kids now. They've been together forever. Good for them, dude. Good for them. But
yeah,
that's as far as
exactly. He's
directors go. That's the biggest get right
same
there.
with like Chris, right? I think he has 3 or 4 kids with his wife, he's been with since forever. I think he's been with her before he was ever Thor or anything. So I just think he's a normal guy. There's a couple of guys that Disney brought on, the Chris's, unironically, that just seem like normal guys who just happen to be actors, who just happen to be famous, like Chris Pratt and Chris Hemsworth. And they're not your typical Hollywood dudes. Like Robert Downey Jr. has had a very long, storied history
Yeah,
in the
well,
spotlight. He's a
seems like a
typical
good dude
Hollywood
too,
dude,
though.
but he's become a much better man because of it. It's a shame they had all these wonderful dudes who were good representations of all the things they say they want to have men be about, right?
Right.
They're not out here being degenerates. They're not out here beating women or anything like that we know of, right? I haven't heard anything like that.
No. Yeah.
And yet, what do they do with them? What do they do with them? They
cuck
cuck them out or they kill them off.
Well, yeah, but at least Robert got out before they did that.
Yeah.
Because with Robert, you're right. He had a really troubled past, but he has improved himself a lot. And we hear from everybody he's extremely protective of cast and crew, and he's
Yep.
very supportive of them. He's not quite the level of, say, a Keanu Reeves that literally takes some of his pay and shells it out amongst the crew.
That's right.
But Downey, excuse me, he's learned from his hard knocks, it seems.
Yep.
Excuse me.
No, not Chris Evans.
Not
Chris Evans is a weirdo.
no.
He's a weird man. He played a good Captain America.
I think so.
He just did. He was good as Steve Rogers, but him as a person is a strange, strange man. He's a weird guy.
I will give Chris Evans that. He is a good actor because
He is.
Captain America is a complete opposite of what he is.
Yeah.
And,
I will be right back.
And there are plenty of people who do that really well, and that's why I think it's important that you go see actors, directors in interviews to see who they are, right? Like with Oscar Isaacs, I'll never watch any. I don't care if it's the greatest movie ever. I'll never watch that guy. Go watch his interview for Star Wars where he's standing next to Leia there. What was that actress's name? Passed away.
Carrie Fisher.
Carrie Fisher. Just go watch that interview where he's next to Carrie Fisher and they're talking. Oh my God, dude. He's like a wine mom. It's so disgusting. Anyway, let's move on. More complaining. Go ahead.
Oh Lord.
You can read it, Grimlock.
I'm gonna add on to it. Numbnuts Hollywood celebrities, including Elijah Wood and Mark Hamill, meltdown over Donald Trump's 2024 presidential run.
Now, I'm going to go through here and look at some of the tweets we get in Hollywood regarding that, and I think it's funny. But you don't have to like a particular candidate. Of course not. You can have your own biases in that regard. You can vote for whoever you want, etc., right? Excuse me. Of course. But they're just, unwarranted hate of Donald Trump goes beyond just simply, I don't like that political party or that person. Like with Biden, a lot of people, we all know that he's got the Alzheimer's or dementia of some kind. And even though
He wasn't
we,
such a piece of shit. I feel sorry for him.
right, that's my point. We kind of feel sorry for him. It's sad, even though his career, he's just a horrible, Hollywood, Washington elite. But we kind of feel bad for him though, because it's like, damn man, his wife and his kids just throw him under the bus like that. We have a little bit of sympathy for the dude, right? But the
Nope, nope.
opposite is just not true, right? Um, and it's depressing. Now we love Mark Hamill because he's done so many great things, but he is a libtard. He always has been. There's nothing new. Elijah Wood as well. But I know more about Mark's libtardedness than Elijah's. But let's take a look at some of these tweets that are coming out. And like I said, you can have any political opinion you want, right? But they just seem to kind of go beyond just simply I'm a Democrat and I don't like Republicans when it comes to Trump. Like here we go. Now this is
Yeah.
soft. Y'all, we're not doing this again, right? We had 4 years that felt like a nightmare, and that was that, right? And then, of course, we get this from Chance Roberts here. Unfortunately, it's only been 2 years. Yes, it does feel like 4. Not what I was referring to. Elijah, buddy. Don't get baited like that, dude. Come on, please. That's too damn easy, Grimlock. Jesus, man. I mean, what
Take the
I
bait.
was referring to, you couldn't look worse, Elijah. What would have been really clever and cool from your point of view would have been lol.
Yep. Just
Yeah.
laugh at him.
Yeah. I watched.
It's a shame.
Ben said, "I watched Trump's announcement and I fell asleep. Dude needed some coffee or a monster drink." Yeah, fair enough. I didn't watch it at all, Ben.
See, that's a better response from a libtard right there.
Yeah,
Just
that's
he
funny.
bores you.
Yeah,
You're
that's
over
funny.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, you're over
That's
him.
a much better response than this fretting over. Listen, I know where I'm at. For a lot of Americans, those 4 years were fantastic. They can cry all they want about what was going on in D.C. and this Trump did this or that or whatever. Here's what I know. Gas was the cheapest it's ever been in my lifetime, period. It's not even close. When you adjust for inflation, it wasn't even close. Food went down significantly in price. At least the food I buy did. Went down significantly in price in my area.
The average
wages actually went up for the first time.
4,000.
Yeah, wages actually went up for the first time in God knows in a significant amount. These are the things the American people should care about, but for some reason they all pretend not to sometimes, which is strange to me. So for a lot of Americans, a huge portion of Americans, those 4 years were anything but a nightmare. They were a blessing. A lot of people started businesses, made a lot of money. They got themselves in better financial situations than they were, myself included. These sorts of things happened while Trump was president or right at the end of Trump's presidency. So for somebody like Elijah, who has had, as far as financially anyway, a very easy life, to sit here and say it was a nightmare. Oh, such a nightmare.
Well,
buddy, listen, you are in an ivory tower. You should not be castigating down upon the peasantry in such a way, sir.
Well, I mean, and also once again, they're politicians, dude. I mean, come on, get a grip. They're politicians. But if we want to balance who caused more cultural trouble, Trump or Obama, I think Obama wins that hands down, doesn't he?
I agree.
I mean, we got this
you don't get Trump
thing
without
popping
Obama.
up because of him. What?
You don't get Trump without Obama. People completely misunderstand 2016. The reason why I knew Trump was going to win, and I was confident of it even the day of, was because people hate Barack Obama. As much as the media has tried to rehab his image, a huge preponderance of people hate Barack Obama. They loathe that man as president. They loathe what happened while he was president.
It's probably equal
people on both sides. Yeah, people on both sides of the aisle. By the way, it's not just a right-wing thing. It's not even it's a racism thing. No, it ain't. People have a strong disdain for Barack Obama because Barack was supposed to be something and he ended up
He was
just
supposed to be a
being Bush
unifier, but
too.
he was a race baiter. Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
But it's the same with Trump. Both sides of the aisle. But yeah, no, I mean it's politic, and that's fine. And what I'm saying is, dude, they're politicians. Get a grip.
Yeah,
And
calm
this
down.
is not the best response, Elijah. He's going. Ben's going to give us the base libtard take. I want Trump to run, and
Oh,
him as opposed to DeSantis is a slam dunk win. Well, you know what, Ben? I have a feeling, especially if anyone around Trump can get him to listen. What
for once.
would be absolutely devastating would be Trump DeSantis ticket.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't think that's losing. I'll be honest with you,
that's
because
winning.
here's the biggest
Yeah, that's winning.
complaint you're going to have, or the biggest thing they're going to say is, "Well, they impeached Trump and all this stuff." It's like, all
They
right, well
didn't
then
impeach him.
impeach him again, and DeSantis will be president.
Well, they didn't impeach
So
him though. They didn't. It didn't get past anything.
you know what I mean, though.
Yeah. But whatever. But once again, they're politicians. Who gives a shit? They're not going to. In the end, they're not really going to do anything for you. There's a bigger system at play that you can't get beyond, and neither can they. This is the
I just want
reality.
Elijah to go watch George Carlin when he talks about the big club.
Oh
Just
yeah.
go watch it, Elijah,
Yeah.
because he's correct. It's a
Yeah,
big
it's
club,
true.
and you ain't in it.
And you ain't
They
in
don't
it,
get
baby.
it.
That's right. Go ahead and read this one.
I find it utterly funny watching all these white liberals who quote George Carlin, and it's like you still mad about Trump being in president when it's
I don't know.
literally what he told you about.
Yeah.
It
yeah.
is literally that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's not the
Alright.
only one. Other people have mentioned it, but George is, heavily quoted on that. Yeah, that's a big question, Ben. Can they rein in Trump's ego? That is a problem. I'd say that's his greatest weakness, actually.
It
To
is.
be fair, though, half, if not more, of what is called Trump ego is him being sarcastic, though. A lot
That's
of
true.
times he's making a joke or laughing at something, and it's taken seriously. Although no one's going to disagree that he has an ego, because he does. But a
Or
lot
it's
of
just
times
taken
it's tongue in
completely
cheek.
dishonestly.
Yeah, well,
Remember
that's another
when he was in
conversation.
Japan with Abe and they were feeding the fish, and
He could
Abe
be,
told him to
Roger.
dump his little box out, and the media spun it that Trump just threw his box threw all the fish food or whatever it was into the thing, with totally disrespecting the Prime Minister of Japan, even though literally, I don't know, 10 seconds before that, Abe dumped it and told him to dump his too.
Right.
But the
yeah.
media over here spun it as Trump was just so disrespectful
Oh,
and his
yeah.
ego is out of control.
My
And
favorite
like,
was-
calm down.
My favorite was the ice cream.
Oh, God.
That was great. He gets 3 scoops, not 2. He's the fucking president. He should have 5.
He has as many scoops as he wants. Are we rationing ice
Screw
cream
off,
now?
dude.
What the fuck? How hard has it gotten in
Jesus
America where we're
Christ.
rationing ice cream?
But I don't know. But it's just so silly. But I thought, go ahead and read Mark Hamill's here.
President Trump announces his 24 presidential run. He is a complete and total embarrassment.
Yeah, okay. It's an opinion.
No. You know what, Mark? You know what a complete and total embarrassment is?
George
Is when
W.
you talk
Bush.
about a woman's right to choose, and then you tell your wife's, your son's girlfriend to kill her fucking kid. That's complete and total embarrassment.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You limp dick bitch.
Yeah.
He
He went personal. I was just going to say something about Star Wars. He went right to the soul of the matter.
nope.
Yep.
Nope.
I do love the urban.
No, you know why?
It's awesome.
You know why? You know why you do that? I've already told you. The way these motherfuckers acted from 2015 all the way through 2020. That's the kind of shit that back in Brooklyn would get you killed. The kind of fucking behavior Mark Hamill and all these white liberals was acting a fool, especially on the internet where they know there's no consequences because the average person can't get to them. That kind of fucking shit gets you killed in the streets. It happens all the time. All you gotta do is look up any newspaper in Chicago. That kind of shit gets you killed.
Oh, well, yeah.
And the
sure,
kind
those
of
things
shit that
happen.
they did for 5 fucking years, and then as soon as their people got in, you can debate whether you think it's legitimate or not. It's a moot point at this point. All
You're
of a
there.
sudden, now it's a time for healing. No, I will heal on your grave.
Yeah,
See, this is
Roger,
why I
yeah.
like Grimlock.
Yeah,
He's ready. He's ready to
ready, he
decorate
is.
some light posts with me. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. If it wasn't for jail time, I would go. I would just go DC Sniper on Rodeo Drive
Well, yeah,
and
to be
just pick
fair,
these.
why poor Rodeo Drive? There's other better streets. I would go to one of
Because
the
that's where
George Floyd
that's
ones.
where there are.
Personally.
I want no. I want to pick these faggots off while they're going to get their
Oh.
little
All
boutique
right. Well,
dog
this show
biscuits
is
that cost
Fired up.
$200.
Yeah. All right.
Fired up. Fired up. I'm gonna try this
but-
orange Powerade.
But to be fair, I don't really think this statement is too harsh. I mean, it's just his opinion, and people say
No,
really bad things about Biden. So
he's been one of the
True.
worst. He's been one
he's
of
a
the worst
libtard.
ones.
He is. He's
For like, it's like, dude, come on, man.
Yeah.
And and then like the philosophy they have, and this is why I meet them with such venom. I give what you give me. Is you took this, oh well, if they're not for the liberals, they're immediately on the other side, and it's like, no, not.
I'm trying to
I'm
wrangle
not in
it,
support.
Ben.
I'm-
I'm trying.
I'm not a support. I'm not a supporter of them
fired
either.
him
Hey,
up.
look,
Mark fired him
look.
up.
I'm gonna tell the truth. I would be just as quick to learn the electric slide the day Mitch McConnell dies as Joe Biden.
Oh, please,
Oh, yeah.
somebody,
Yeah.
anybody,
I mean, serious.
whatever God will
seriously,
listen.
I
Can
might.
we please
I
keep the
might do-
turtle?
In fact, you know what? I might have an easier time because I'm not too I'm rhythmically challenged. I might try to Ray Lewis dance on Mitch McConnell's
You
grave.
can't be rhythmically challenged. You're black. It's not
Oh,
allowed.
yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Okay.
I can back him up on that one. I've
me-
seen some black dudes who just simply cannot dance.
Me. That's true. I've seen them. But me personally, I would like. Can we just fire all of them? All of them.
Yes.
In this
Yeah.
in the space, yes, I am for
I
that.
agree. That would
Listen,
be nice.
Listen, we have a population problem in this world. I'm told by very, very credible scientists that we're overpopulated. But Mars is open. There's nobody on Mars, so let's just launch them that way.
There's people on Mars. Don't believe the shit. Don't believe
Well,
the hype, buddy.
but don't
Hey,
tell them the secret, Chester.
Okay.
hey, look,
fine.
I'm a Fantastic Four fan. We can go read Richards with this. I would like to know what is the fastest Mach speed a politician can be achieved through trebuchet.
Probably 6.3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to apply
they
that.
start
We
to
have
break
plenty to
apart.
choose from.
This is funny though. Come on now.
That's a good one.
Hey,
yeah.
Eric,
Breaking
Breaking
news.
news.
45 announces future failed run for presidency. That's funny.
It's a lot of F's. It's a lot of F's in a
A lot
row
of
there.
Fs. A lot of Fs.
No, I like. See, here's the problem with Mark. Here's the problem with Mark. Mark wants to talk about complete and total embarrassment. Mark, sweetheart, that's your whole career, buddy. Because the only really, really, really important thing culturally you actually did, besides the Joker, which most people don't even know is you shut down the tube when Disney came and offered you $5 million.
Unfortunately,
You sold your
yeah.
soul, literally, to the mouse, knowing full well what they were doing because you complained about it the whole damn time, and even after the movie was done, right before and after its release, you knew what
Yes,
you did. You sold your soul.
Yeah, see,
the
that's the
complete
better
and
thing to
total
complain
embarrassment
about.
here, sir,
Yeah.
is you.
and us deplorable people took your side.
Yeah, well, that's true because
we won't forget. I'm not going to allow him to forget that either.
it was right,
Yep.
and he shouldn't have done that. Just like Hemsworth should have spoke up movies ago. But here's
But-
another actor who I actually like. I think he's a really solid actor. Go ahead, Grimlock. Read this one.
This clown Trump actually believes the nonsense duking out of his mouth.
Oh, Dookie Ying.
You're a grown.
Dookie Ying.
You're a grown man. Nah, I'm not gonna. You're a grown man saying that.
Well, he ain't done. He's got more.
To you, some urbanese. You could kill yourself saying that. It's a grown man.
Hey, you can continue, Grimlock. He's got more.
Oh, Trump is a damn depressant.
Okay.
I
Well, he's
okay.
gotta,
He
he's
was
gonna
for
have something
Orlock,
to cancel
apparently.
out those uppers. You know.
He was
But
for Ben. He put him to sleep.
He did.
He pressed
yeah.
him right into his sleep.
No, I agree with that.
Uh,
That's true. But I do like Jeffrey Wright as an actor. He's a solid actor, but he's
Yeah.
definitely got that TDS going on.
Can we all just admit that
Dookie.
social media was a mistake? Can
You
we
know,
just
I
admit
agree.
social media was a
Oh,
mistake?
look, a totally irrelevant person has got to speak. Go ahead, Thunder.
Who is Josh? I don't even know who that is. This is how it's done. Thank you, Jeff Bezos' personal blog, for continuing to lead the way.
And it says Trump.
It's
who was-
interesting.
Well, he's responding with something here. Trump, who as president fomented an insurrection, no, he didn't,
Oh, God.
says he is running again. The former president has been eager to declare his candidacy, hoping to get ahead of likely rivals and potential criminal charges. Well, okay, Washington Post, nothing you said there is true. He did not foment.
Well, the likely
insurrection.
rivals, maybe.
Well, yeah, but he didn't foment insurrection at all. We have actual video proof of it. He is running again. That's true. The former president has been eager to declare his candidacy. Actually, people have been kind of sitting on pins and needles, thinking he's been going to declare for what, 3 months, 4 months now. And he's very patient, so I wouldn't use the word eager. He actually held his gun until after the quite a bit after the elections, hoping to get ahead of likely rivals, maybe, and potential criminal charges. There are none. They have been after this guy for what, 6, 7, 8 years, desperately doing everything they can to find something of him, and they have found nothing, dude. Nothing.
Can I mention
Post.
this other thing about these wonderful white liberals, about the one thing they're actually on the center about? They seem to be on the center with Jeff Bezos, because, you know, 1 minute they're crying that he's a slave driver, and then the next minute they're deep throating his bald cock whenever his official propaganda magazine fucking puts out some anti-Trump shit.
Yeah.
Which I find fascinating, because Bezos over the last year has over the last year Bezos has made it very clear he's not for whatever Biden's doing. He's very anti the Democrats' current agenda. So that's interesting to me, because Washington Post isn't reflecting that in any reasonable way.
Well, they're
and like we said,
anyway.
it is quite literally his personal blog. He bought it so he could have a propaganda machine at his disposal.
Most of the media is complete nonsense. It's just political leanings one way or the other. But no, I didn't see the speech, man, because I don't give a shit.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
Here's my official opinion on Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the best president of my lifetime personally, as far as when it came to results and policy, the way my life was affected. When it comes to literally everything else that matters, he had a chance to actually do something, and he balked. He complained for a year that they were going to screw him out of the election, and he did nothing. He did nothing to stop it. Didn't even spend any money to try and stop it. So as far as I'm concerned, he had his chance to be a Caesarian-like figure, or at least a Sulla-like figure for America, and he blew it. History propped him up, and he blew it.
Let's be honest.
That's how I feel about
There's a fair chance that Trump is part of the whole theater, dude.
Correct.
Let's be honest. I know there's a lot of Trump cheering goes on and over here, and that's fine. But I mean, the dude might well just be part of the whole thing. It's theater, dude. It's all theater.
Of course it is. Big show.
And, you know, what do you want? And in my lifetime, I've seen many presidents, from Ford. Even before Ford. But I've seen many presidents, and all of them have a couple of good things they might have done, and they all have bad shit they've done. Even Reagan, right, had mistakes and things he didn't do well. I would say the biggest thing he did was allowing that naturalization of immigrants. That was a mistake. In my opinion, we have a system in place. Go through the system. Especially seeing as America has the easiest immigration system on earth, right?
It's not even close,
just go through the damn front door, please. But I would say in my lifetime, as far as president, Reagan did plenty of good things. And I know this will be unpopular, but because he did some bad things, particularly all the spying we see from the government on the people. But Bill Clinton had some good points too. I know people. It isn't popular, but as far as a president,
he made fat girls ride for free a national anthem.
He did. But I mean, there was some good things he did, and there were some bad things. They all have that. Every single one of them. And like for Obama, there's not really much he accomplished at all, and he certainly hurt race relations. You set it back freaking decades. But he was probably one of the most presidential presidents we've ever had, as far as the
Professional
appearance of
time,
a
man.
president.
Yeah, he had the act down to a T.
Yeah,
Still
he
does.
did. He did. Yeah.
And the worst part about Obama is if he wasn't such a scumbag sellout, I think he'd actually be one of those guys who'd be fun to hang out with. You know, he likes to play ball. He likes to talk about sports.
Sure.
I actually don't think. I think most people would get along just fine with Barry, because that's his real name, in a private setting. But he sold his soul, man. That's what he did. Just straight
well,
up.
they all do. I mean, that's the
Yeah,
kind of the point
He's
I'm trying to
Lando
make.
Calrissian without the redemption arc.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. That's a good. That's
But I mean,
a good one. Actually.
they're just all shills for one banking group or another, really. Although I do agree with Michael Ian Black. I have no idea who you are, brother, but I agree. Go ahead,
Me
Grimlock.
too.
You read this one and read it with gusto.
Well, let me get a little red wine for that. You want some gusto, man?
I need gusto.
Uh oh. He's gonna get
I
very.
don't really give a shit who's running for president right now. Let me just enjoy my life for a fucking minute.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. No, I agree.
That was very New York.
I agree.
I like it.
This is my stance. There's my politic. Eric says, Clinton, get this fake Yahoo off the show. Thunder is your show now. No, Clinton did a couple of good things. He certainly was one of the funnest presidents we've ever had.
He was
and he did
really
a
good
lot of
with a
bad
cigar.
shit. Huh?
He was really good with a cigar. Really
Yeah,
good.
with that too. But I mean, Clinton, and they all like that. They're all sluts and whores, dude. All of them, right?
They're men. Of course they are.
You know, but
Powerful men have always been that. Always.
course,
I don't know why
you
everybody's
know.
surprised.
It's like, and I love that Trump just owns it. He's like, yeah, and
Yeah, I fuck porn stars for money.
so
yeah,
what?
what's the problem?
I mean, are you jealous, right? But I understand that Clinton, especially the deep state stuff, Clinton is directly responsible for that, and many other things. Like for instance, if we go back to Nixon. Nixon did some good stuff, but he's also the one that took us completely off the gold standard, opened China. He did a bunch of bad shit, right? And not mentioning what he resigned over either. But he also
Drug
had some
war.
good things. My point is, they all do good and bad. Every single one of them. The only one I can think of that didn't do good and bad, most of the stuff he did seemed to be quite productive, not necessarily internationally, but socially, would be Teddy Kennedy. Not Teddy Kennedy, Teddy Roosevelt.
Teddy Roosevelt, yeah.
Yeah.
No, Teddy Roosevelt's probably our best president. It's a tough competition in that top bracket, but he's probably the best one as far as everything that is wrong right now. He was tackling 100 years ago. Every problem we have now today, he was on 100 years ago fixing, and he largely fixed a lot of them for a while.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, he created pretty much that whole system.
Yeah, but we've done a couple of things. I did a thing on Eisenhower. I should do a thing on Roosevelt.
You should. He was a man's man, the youngest president until Obama came along, and nobody ever talks about that. Like, he was young for a president.
He was.
But he's a giant. He's the giant, in my opinion.
Yeah, and he had a couple of things he got himself in a little bit of trouble for, but they were not like what we're talking about. But yeah, I'll put.
Well, it was also things.
Teddy Roosevelt.
One of the things, just as I don't know if anybody knows this, he got in trouble for is he used to have dinner with a black man in the White House very publicly, because that was obviously hush hush type stuff you didn't do, and he just didn't care.
Well, his Rough Rider stuff was a bit vainglorious, to be fair.
Well, but it was effective.
Yeah, well,
got the job done.
Was it though? But that whole thing with the Spanish, people forget about that as well. We've had so many conflicts and wars throughout our history. People have forgotten 90% of them.
Well, they've definitely forgotten the Spanish-American War that was literally started by a lie.
Yeah,
Open and honest.
So many of them
we all know
Vietnam
it was.
Well. So many.
Complete and utter nonsense. Didn't happen. Yeah.
But also with like Jefferson and the Muslims and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, I'll put something together on Teddy Kennedy because we talk about him, we keep mentioning him, and let's talk about the good and the bad. Thing is, it's mainly good.
You
Anyway,
keep saying Teddy Kennedy.
I'm sorry, Teddy Roosevelt. That's just the Teddy in my generation because Roosevelt, I'm not that old. But I love Rob Reiner here because he's another one of those libtards in Hollywood. There's no other way to put this. Donald Trump is a complete and utter fool, not to mention a career criminal. Well, maybe. Time to indict and put the last nail into this corrupt coffin. Well, Mr. Reiner continues here, looking forward to Donald Trump becoming politically irrelevant indicted criminal. Okay, now they keep going on about this. And the thing is, Mr. Reiner and all the rest of you, he's clearly not a fool. Clearly.
Yes,
This is we can prove this statement to be untrue. He's not a fool at all. Is he a career criminal? Well, I would say he's walked that line his whole life, but he hasn't crossed it because he's never gotten busted for it. And the closest he came to was in the 90s, and that didn't go through either. And trust me, if they could find anything, they would hang it around his neck because they're so desperate. But I would say that he certainly pushes the boundaries, but he's not a career criminal, right? And corrupt. I don't know. Is Donald Trump any more corrupt than any other president? I'd say he's probably one of the least corrupt while in his time in office because he knew he had to be. I mean, I don't, your statements just aren't true. This right here, well, that's fine. But he's not going to be indicted. They've been really trying hard, Mr. Reiner. But this is the piece de resistance until I move on to the last thing here. Go ahead and read this, Thunder.
Trump is the definition of fake populist elite. He has done nothing for working class people or America except to take the GOP down.
Thank
well,
you, Mr.
I wouldn't say he took the GOP down. I would say the GOP keeps taking the GOP down because what Donald Trump did is he came in as he showed everybody, right, wrong, or indifferent, the fetid rot that is the GOP and the DNC. But I think a lot of people already knew about that. But definitely McConnell and his crew at the top of the GOP who would rather lose elections than do anything else. To be honest, it seems they like to lose. They're born losers.
That's why I said fire them all. But I do love the statement of fake populist elite. Well, there's nothing fake about it. He is a populist, dude. 100% populist. By definition and by reality. So I don't know about this fake populist because he is a populist, dude. It's his whole shtick, Mr. Reiner. And I did love you and Mr. Ruffalo, sorry. But we know this guy's a majorly broken libtard. But
I agree with Howell Comics, though. Trump did do one thing that we know of that he consistently does, continuously to this day. He persists in this evil. He cooks his steaks until they're burnt.
I know.
Eats them.
It's on,
what
and
the
he
hell
eats
is
pizza with a fork and knife. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable.
He's Trump.
What
are you doing?
But once again, for the most part, these are just their opinion, and I'm fine with that. I have no trouble with that. George Takei, I don't.
Oh gosh,
I'm not even. Don't even. Rosie, okay. Good luck, you orange Nazi. Thank you, Rosie.
Of all the Star Trek cast members that have died, this is the one we're left with. Thank
I know,
he
right?
Kick.
Yeah, but Rosie, of course,
the least entertaining of the bunch.
To be fair, though, she has like a personal grudge with him. They
don't get along.
They do not get along. George, I'm not good about Reeland, George. But in general, they can have any opinion they want.
I just like that Rosie O'Donnell decided that she was going to make this personal transition to look like the old man from Up every year of her life.
Right.
For the rest of her life.
Well,
listen, if you want to charge Trump with culinary malfeasance, I'm with you.
Sure.
But everything else is silliness and nonsense, and it only makes him stronger. I don't understand why they can't stop themselves.
Yeah, only makes them stronger. They can have any opinion they want, though. But one of the greatest Trumpisms of all time was, no, just Rosie.
Yeah, that was good.
It was sweet. But one of the things Trump did that I think a lot of people miss, and it's important, is when he came out and his first things were like, all right, here we go, right? And I thought it was weird because, he always was asked about running for president because I come from the New York area, right? And he was always asked, and he said, no, 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 no. He always said no. And all of a sudden, here he is going to run for president. And a lot of people saying he was just insulted by Obama at that dinner, and he was going to make a point. Okay, fine, right? But what did he say in his very first little speech when he came out, when he was at a debate or whatever it was? Very first thing. He came out and they were talking about corruption in government and politics, and he says, "Yeah, it's all corrupt. It's a rigged system." I think was the wording he used, and he says, "You know how I know? Because I use it."
Yeah.
And if you don't like that,
Yeah.
Miss Hillary, then go change the legislation and fix it. He was so brutally honest with these things. I think it shook people.
It scared them.
Yeah.
It scared the vermin that have been hiding for too long behind laws that protect them and allow them to be crooked and corrupt, evil pieces of shit like the Pelosi's of the world. Where it's not even a secret. It's open and honest that she does insider trading and her husband benefits from it directly.
Republicans too. It's not.
Of course.
One way or the
And
other.
they need these people. Well, they need to meet a light post and a rope.
Yeah, well, I know you guys are
I like
extreme.
it.
Yeah.
But Trump
That
is
is not extreme. That is being gentle.
Lynching,
Sir, that
would
is
be
the-
an extreme take. I'm pretty sure.
Listen, Chester, that is the prescribed solution to corruption. It always has been. You
Well,
know
let me-
that as a
Let me get my
historian.
dictionary here.
That is how you solve corruption of
about
this level, sir, and you know it.
24 of them.
Um,
Let me see. I will go with the. I'll go with the German dictionary. Let's see.
oh God, look at this guy. But the other thing I was going to say is over here in the chat in the Discord, Captain Canada posted that apparently Bob Iger has once again resumed the role as CEO of Disney, and Bob Chapek has been fired.
Oh well.
Is that true?
Yeah,
That's what Variety's reporting.
He's Chapek
Wow.
totally screw the pooch because we were kind of wondering how it would go. We had our fingers crossed, kind of like with Zaslav. Whereas Zaslav, if we won't be able to get to it, I'm just going to do this last thing real quick. But Zaslav is like, nope, we're not. We're going to have one Batman. We're going to have Superman, and he never killed Zod. So clearly Zaslav is just like us. Superman doesn't kill. So, I mean,
That's
and
right.
of course, just the last little thing, Alec Baldwin is like, the crew did it. I didn't. All right, fuck off. But Zaslav is doing what we hoped Chapek would do, right? And Chapek turned out to be worse than Iger, which is a big mouthful. But Zaslav is saying no. We're going to clean things up, and we're gonna make it righteous, man. But anyway, I just thought it would be fun to take a look at this because, which way you go, they're welcome to have their opinions. That's not an issue.
Of course.
But a lot of people get upset, like, how dare you said that? Well, you're on the other side of it saying shit people don't like either. That's kind of what political discourse is, unfortunately. But anyway, let's end the show on a happy note, and here we go.
Uh-oh.
Wow, this thing is real.
Top 10 console launch day video games. Interesting.
No, that's interesting. Now, we see one here with Halo. I remember that happening, right?
Yeah.
People were way down the street in line for Halo. I'd never seen anything like it. I mean, to be fair, when I was a kid, of course, I wasn't in New York at that time. I was in Rhode Island, and I saw Star Wars in the movie theater. But I've seen the video that it was quite a line to see Star Wars. But as far as video games, I remember the Halo thing. It was ridiculous, dude.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think me and Thundaro would agree. There was like that peak around like the early 2000s to about 2012, where like there was so many good, I guess you would say, AAA games coming out, to where like all of them kind of almost like felt like events. Because I remember when a lot of those games came out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how they do it in Japan, but like here, like GameStop would have like the midnight releases. They'd open the door like 2 hours before midnight. They'd let people come in, have snacks, play games, just talking and whatnot. And I'm like, say, just Halo. Like it would even be like games like Call of Duty, where that was like the thing for years.
Now in Japan, I've only seen them
And
stand in line for benign things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
not even Animal Crossing, because they seem to really love that game.
Well, I think the difference is in the West, when you go to get a video game, it's at a video game store, right? Here in
Yeah.
Japan, you can pick up a Animal Crossing at all kinds of places. It's not just a video store. You can find them in any kind of store at all, anywhere. So you don't get
It's at the
lines
grocery
because,
store.
well, grocery stores tend to be in department stores here in Japan, a lot of them. And yes, you can buy video games in those department stores, which are mainly a supermarket, but they also have little extra stuff. But I think it's just so widespread. There's so many different places you could pick up a game, you just don't see the lines. I think that's the difference. Where in America, you
Well,
go
a
to
lot of people
GameStop.
download them now too.
Yeah, that's true. But we're
Yeah,
talking about in the
that too.
past here. Who knows? They might be talking about digital here. Let's take a look. Huh.
NFL 2K.
Huh.
Yes.
Interesting.
Really? I
It
would
did
think.
have a huge impact. It did have a
It
huge impact.
it did. There was a lot of things that the 2K series, when they was first came in as I believe it was Visual Concepts
Yeah. No, I
was their
have it.
original name,
Yeah.
and yeah, there was a time, and I think that I'll remember, where the Madden franchise had legitimate competition.
There
And
was.
2K was the biggest dog of the group, because people also forget NFL Quarterback Club by Acclaim, but that kind of
Yep.
Right.
died in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But NFL 2K, it was a legitimate threat because you could,
And it was cheaper.
it was cheaper. They tried different things. I remember there was one year of NFL 2K where they allowed you to do a first-person mode.
Yep.
Where, like, no matter what position you played, you basically, whatever your field of vision inside of an NFL helmet, that's what you had.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So,
I did have the game. I don't remember it much, but I love my Dreamcast back in the day. But I also
still
remember
have
that a
mine.
Madden game in like 2002, 2004, something like that was probably the peak of it.
Yeah.
It's been going downhill ever
2004.
since. Yeah, somewhere
Madden
around there.
2004 was the best one by
Yeah.
far.
Yeah.
It's funny because my wife has a CD from what movie is it? The Queen of the Damned, I think. The soundtrack to that, one of the main songs on there was also in Madden 2004, and every time I hear her playing it, I'm immediately taken back to doing freaking drills, because you could do drills in that game, and just doing drills in Madden 2004.
Yeah, there you go. And it's only gone downhill from there. But interesting first choice. All right, let's see what we got next here. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Perfect Dark Zero.
Yeah, it was a big hit, that's for sure.
Yeah, because that one was weird because it was a Nintendo exclusive on the 64, and it had it wasn't like the most popular game in the world, but it had a pretty loud following. And when Microsoft got a hold of Rare, and I think that was like one of their first games that they came out with, it was either that or Cameo. That was like their first projects with Microsoft.
Yeah.
There was a lot of hype going into that.
True, and Microsoft has had, weird because Microsoft is Microsoft, but they've had a very rocky road when it comes to video games, though. But I wish Ben needs to come in here. This is his jam.
Their mismanagement of Rare, I would say, is probably one of their more egregious things.
Yeah, no, that was a lot of errors.
There's a lot of good stuff there with the Rare, and other than GoldenEye for obvious, licensing issues, there's just so much stuff that Microsoft, I thought, could have done better with that franchise, but for some reason they didn't.
Yeah. Well, keep in mind what we're talking about here is top 10 console launch day video games. Launch day.
Yeah.
This one I didn't remember it being so big a launch, but I do remember it being quite popular. I didn't play this game. I didn't have an Xbox 360, so
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, you're in Japan.
yeah, that's true.
Um,
Yeah. Oh yeah, I love this
Wipeout.
game, dude.
Good old Wipeout. Yeah, Wipeout's a good time. Still to this day.
Still
Wipeout's a
fun.
good time.
Yeah.
Yep.
But none of these things are even close to that Halo event, though.
No,
Not even close.
we'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
I wonder if we're
No,
going to
Halo
get
was
any
a
Ubisoft stuff in
change.
here.
We'll
See what,
see.
see
We'll
what
see.
7 is. Luigi's Mansion. Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
My
That
daughter
game,
liked this.
She did, I bet. Yeah.
that game is more fun than it has any right to be.
Yeah,
It really
no,
is.
but I'm kind of going back to the title. This is launch day, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Look, John Leguizamo in a game.
Yeah. Look at how Mexican he is. But anyway, GameCube. Yeah. Let's see here. Really?
Wow.
6.
What?
Only
What?
6?
Damn it,
I
Frank.
don't know.
Frank.
Uh,
This was such a
I'm-
mammoth thing. There's no way. It's not in the top 3, dude.
So I'm guessing
The-
GTA 3 has got to be up in that list somewhere. It's got to be
Let's
GTA
just put
3
it
and
as
Vice City
bluntly as
somewhere.
possible. Halo doesn't happen. The Xbox doesn't happen.
That's true.
So
No.
there is no question. It was the thing that sold that console, and it did its entire time. When Halo 2 came out, just cemented it forever. That's just silly to put it at 6. There would not be an Xbox today
Yeah, no.
if Halo wasn't the monster that it was.
It's just Frank needing talking to again. Alpha Proto,
Yeah.
I'm well aware, John
I'll get the
Leguizamo's
glow
Puerto
bar.
Rican.
Hold on.
That was the point. Yeah. Okay. God damn it, Frank. What? You better have 5 bangers, Frank. Here we go.
He's not gonna. He's not gonna.
Oh, okay. No. This was huge. The Wii, Wii itself, and this launched with the Wii. Yeah, no, the Wii was such a mammoth smash, dude.
The heir apparent and successor to the PlayStation 2 was not the Xbox or the PlayStation 3, it was the Wii. This thing was monstrous in how many it sold and just continued to sell for years. Even the PlayStation 2 continued to sell until they discontinued it for years.
Yeah.
These two consoles from the early 2000s, mid 2000s, early 2000s will probably never be topped as far as individual importance in the industry.
Yeah.
As consoles anyway.
Oh yeah.
And this was one of the main reasons. Wii Sports was really fun to play. Anybody could play it. It was real easy.
Yep.
You didn't have to be a gamer.
Nope.
You just had to be able to press a button and move a thing around.
Well, to mention that, because the grandparents here, they certainly don't play video games, but they would play Wii Sports and Wii Party with the kids.
Yep.
They would do that.
It was big in nursing homes.
Mhm.
They'd have them in nursing homes for the old
Get 'em
people.
moving.
Just
As rehab.
Well, it's funny how no one really talks about Nintendo, and when it comes to consoles, it's always Xbox and PlayStation. But yet, it's always Nintendo that's innovating, not them.
That's right.
Well,
It's interesting.
Also, I would also say I would say it's a bit low because of the significance of the Wii, because the Wii really changed the way Nintendo looked at console hardware going forward.
That's true.
That's true.
Because in the previous 2 generations, they arguably had the most powerful consoles, but because of the way they decided to do their media for those consoles, it made third-party games at times, especially in the case of the Nintendo 64, almost non-existent.
Yep.
And then Nintendo went complete opposite direction, where the Wii was the least powerful console of its generation, but was, up until the Switch came along, its bestseller.
And then
by
the
a-
Switch
by a
was just
country
the
mile.
year of the Switch was pure domination, dude. That's true. Well,
Yeah.
the thing, it was funny because in a lot of the fighting and FPS type of games, my son is better than I am, right?
Yeah.
Although I could hang, But with this particular, with the shoot, we had the little gun you put the controller in, right, for shooting games.
Yep.
And
Yep.
he's so frustrated, and I was like, dude, I am the Duck Hunt generation. You are
Yeah.
owned.
See, we
You are
we grew up on
owned.
the light gun.
That's right, we did. You are owned. But yeah, no, this one was mammoth. I forgot about it completely. It's true, but but it was bundled with it though. You know,
Yeah.
Right. They
Golden
cheated.
Axe. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Golden Axe.
Oh.
Now,
Oh.
okay, Golden Axe is fine. I love Golden Axe. Golden Axe is a good game. But above Halo? You
Well,
are
no
on
way.
some actual crack
No, the
above Halo.
numbers are, I don't know what he's talking about. The numbers are wrong because now I remember when this came out and it was very popular. Because in the arcade generation, which I am, Golden Axe was like the shizzle, right? We loved
Yeah, it
Golden
was
Axe,
huge.
Tempest. Oh my god, dude! So is the fact that Golden Axe was coming to a console, yeah, but the numbers are nowhere near any of the ones we've seen already. Because you got to keep in mind, 1989 consoles were, especially the Sega Genesis, it wasn't as widespread as it became. I don't even think at that time they were comparative to, say, Atari back in the 70s. So I don't know. This is a weird choice. Yeah, it's a fun game though. I used to play this in the
Uh,
arcade all the time.
oh, Golden Axe is great,
Mm.
but it just does not belong above Halo. Simple as I could put it.
No way. Yeah, no way. No way. Let's see what number 3 is. Okay,
Mario 64.
fine.
Yeah.
Fine. Yeah, everybody and their brother had it. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm surprised
It's a
it's
great
not number
game.
1 looking at this list.
It's an actual masterpiece of a game, as Mario games tend to be.
Yep.
64 is still played by people to this day. You can go on Twitch right now and probably find a bunch of people playing it, doing speed runs and everything else
Oh no,
because it's just
this is not
fantastic.
NES. This is 64. Sorry, I
Yes,
apologize. That's not the one I was thinking of.
it's just a fantastic game from begin. It just is. It's just as they often do with Mario games. It's just very well made.
Yep. No, and I imagine the NES one is going to be first. But let's take a look here because you know what I haven't noticed? Deathstalkers. Yeah, very good Alpha Proto. But what about Killer Instinct? That was a mammoth hit day one, right?
Big deal.
Mm,
See what we got.
oh,
Tetris
God.
for the Game Boy.
Oh God.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
fine.
I guess it belongs on here,
Well,
but again,
kind of
does it
bundled.
belong on here above?
That came in the
Right? Does it
bundle.
belong above Halo? I don't
No, it
think it does.
doesn't.
Now, let's be fair to Tetris, though. It's one of the games that everybody knows if you ask somebody about video games. Even people who don't play video games, everybody knows Tetris.
It's true.
But so's fucking Halo.
But it's like Wii Sports.
Again.
It's bundled though. I don't know that
Yes.
counts because you're talking about console
Exactly.
sales, not game sales.
That's
So
true.
I don't agree with this list. Frank, damn it. Yeah, it is a running
Frank.
game. You're right. Number
All
1,
right, is it Mario?
Super Mario NES. Yes, of course.
Yeah, Super Mario World.
Yeah, it makes sense.
No,
But,
Super Mario World. Super NES.
Oh, okay, there's a lot of cheating on this list
there is. Yeah.
A little bit cheating.
because you did not have GTA 3
Yeah.
or Vice City. I mean, you could have argued GTA 3, Vice City, or San Andreas as far as hype for day one releases.
Right.
Oh my god.
No, and
Those-
like Red Dead Redemption 2, some of the Ubisoft stuff.
Oh yeah,
you
Red
know,
Dead 2.
Yeah, I mean, there's. I mean, if we look at
The first Red Dead, I mean, was had a lot of hype
day
on
one
it.
stuff. The thing is, as we've learned, Frank doesn't do his frickin' research. Because if he went and did it by the math, and not
And you
had
put
bundle
Golden Axe
stuff, Halo's
over
number one.
Sonic the Hedgehog. That was an interesting pick too.
Yeah, no, we love you, Frank. We love you.
We just need to break your legs every now and then.
Yeah, occasionally. But anyway,
Like when you make lists like this.
Yeah. Well, interesting conversations today. I think it was. We had some fun, and the political stuff, whatever. It's always fun, but for me, the takeaway, the big one for today was John Leguizamo. It's just like, my God, dude, go get some therapy or something, man. It's not the world is not what you think it is, brother. Be at peace. Be happy. Be the old
Like I said,
Chi-Chi, please.
if he is that upset with the way Hollywood is, you have been in Hollywood for almost 40 years.
Hmm.
You know the ins and outs. You should have a significant amount of money because it's not like you're living some extravagant lifestyle. Do what like I said, do what Robert Townsend did.
Yeah.
Your dad go make go make your show. Go recruit some things. I'm sure there are plenty of Latinos or working in Hollywood in the production side that you could pick up.
Hmm.
Do it.
Yeah, but
Do
he'll
it. Do it.
just
Do it.
do it
Do it.
in.
Do it. I'll even go one further. Do a Rippaverse. Make a Leguizamo verse.
Yeah, sure.
Go do that.
Yeah, no, do it
Do
yourself.
that.
But unfortunately, it'll be something dumb
He won't.
like the concept of, hey, let's take Ocean's 11, the remake of a great Frank Sinatra and a Rat Pack movie, which I actually prefer the remake, and we're going to change it up. It's all ladies, as if the first
And
movies
nobody
didn't
watched
have
it.
women in them anyway.
And nobody watched it.
Of course, why would they? Because it's a dumb concept. There were women in those movies, important women. Matter of fact, I don't know about you, but if you see George Clooney and Julia Roberts' interaction in those movies, they're so cozy. I wonder.
But like after the first two, like after the Ocean's remake and then that like first sequel, like did anybody care after that? Because
No,
like
no,
I
well, they were
remember
fun
that
though.
like
It's a fun series, but I get your point. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So I was like you decided to reboot a series that already had long had diminishing returns.
yeah. Well, the third one was
For
definitely getting long in the tooth. That is true. But the second one was a direct connection to the first one, though. So it was better than most sequels have a right to be. But no, I
yeah,
mean, it's just that kind of dumb thinking. Your only change is that it's all women, which doesn't make any sense because the first movies had some very important women in them. I mean,
and
it's
they have
not like
enough.
there were no chickies, that there are only boobies in the back. That is not the reality of those movies, right? So, whatever. I do need to go, though. I got to go to work. Yeah. So, Grimlock, would you like to give a closing statement, sir?
Well, for the last 2 weeks, I've seen some rather sizable chunks of my childhood pass away
Mm,
between Gallagher, Kevin Conroy, and Jason David Frank. That is like, oof, that is right. That is literally right in the childhood.
Yeah.
So, yeah. If it is true that he committed suicide, that's sad to hear. Just goes to show you never know what a person's going through. You never know what leads a person down to those paths. I know, considering that I just was talking about trebucheting a bunch of politicians in the space. I'm actually pretty sympathetic when it comes to people committing suicide because that doesn't just happen overnight. That
no,
it's a
it doesn't.
it's a slow peeling away to where just people just lose it. And I always wonder, if there was somebody he could have talked to that would have changed his mind. But
Yeah. Well, and
I really don't think he would have.
men are so susceptible to it because we're more emotional than women are. Just different types of emotion. We're also more invested than women are. I mean, the men are very susceptible to that, and it's unfortunate because, a man will love a woman unconditionally, but a woman only loves her child unconditionally, never a man.
That's
And unfortunately, most men don't get that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad, but you know,
But
yeah.
on a more positive note, it is in the States. It is Thanksgiving week,
Mm,
so it is time to get back to old American values of family and stuffing your face. Do it. I mean, if you're gonna do it big.
I'm gonna have a pecan pie.
That's a good choice. I need to pick up one of those myself.
Oh well,
Pecan
we
pie.
make them here, but my wife has gotten pretty good at it.
Pecan's pie. That is the devil's pie, but he knows what I like.
What did you say, Thundera?
I just was reciting pecan pie.
Yeah, pecan pie is awesome, dude. Yeah, it is one of the better pies. But all right, thank you very much, Grimlock. All right, guys, we'll check you out. Keep in mind that I still got the big Greek classes I'm doing today and tomorrow. So I don't really know what I'm going to do regarding that. But we do have Bugbear's Basement restarting this week. So if you want to come back and check that out, please do. Also, keep in mind if you want to play, I basically kind of rebooted it because people have lives and they're busy, and when we can't have everybody there, we can't play, and that sucks. So I've set this new campaign up that we don't. It's okay if someone doesn't show up or if someone new comes in. I've made it flexible. I've changed it. We're also playing the Cortex system, so if you ever want to try that, come on in and give it a shot. But other than that, thank you very much, and Thundero, please.
I have a few today because it's been a rough few weeks here. A lot of us care about have been passing. People who probably help shape who we are as men and women. One is, of course, one of my new favorite ones. You're only ever as strong as your willingness to surrender. Unfortunately, Jason David Frank surrendered. He couldn't take it anymore, whatever it was, and that's a tragedy. The other one is a little bit more hopeful. It's one I think Chester really likes. Every sunset leads to dawn.
Mhm.
Namaste.
Namaste. Later, everybody.